World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Want to quit your day job? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
This is bad. Wait, let's just do it ourselves.
It is not fear that grips him, only restlessness, a heightened sense of things. The smell of engine and sweat, the engine rattling his blood, the crowd roaring, the race is about to start. He breathes deeply to focus. In this league, he finally found what he was looking for. A true passion.
Sono Massimo Paganini e per anni ho cercato una macchina che mi desse gioia, adrenalina nella guida e finalmente l'ho trovata nella G1 Series. Se anche tu vuoi provare una macchina che ti dia gioia e adrenalina, G1 Series 2020.
So, you think you got what it takes to race in the G1 Series? Can you keep your concentration? Even in the most stressed situations, can you keep pushing even when things go wrong? Can you master different environments? Can you adapt immediately to different conditions? Can you keep learning? Learning from your opponents, learning from your mistakes, learning from everyone, anytime, anywhere, until you reach your goal and become the best you can. Think you got what it takes to race in the 2020 G1 Series? Then fill in the form now.
Want real followers? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. It's the halfway stage of a 6-round season. Round 3 often puts the big showcase on. This track is a track which is a true racer's track. It requires great car control to get yourself around. Welcome to Imola, and welcome to another week of fantastic sim racing action for you, because this is your Griiip G1 2020 Virtual Series here on rFactor 2 on World Pro Racing's YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch, as well as later on the ESR 24/7 Esports Network and ESPN, presented by Fiverr, hashtag making it work, and of course also helped by GT Omega Racing and Thrustmaster as well, the mod created by ASR Formula here in these G1s. Of course, we said it is Imola, but this is a crucial part of the championship. At the moment, it's looking like a runaway train is going down the tracks, and the question becomes, can anybody stop this said runaway train at this moment in time? We are heading ourselves over towards practice in a few minutes' time, but some brilliant work has gone on over the course of this season. It's worth talking about how the championship stacks. Firstly, in your amateur category championship, which precedes events that goes on to the pro event and the €5,000 prize pool, which is on and available. But it is so incredibly clear at the moment that this has been a runaway so far for Philip Kraus, who is currently 2 wins out of 2 from Adria and from Silverstones. We head over to Imola, 70 out of 70, with drivers behind like Sam Carpenter in second, already 25 points off the pace at the moment. The only other driver who could potentially climb up the order in this event is Pierre-Andre Previdi to take the lead of the championship coming out here of Imola. He lies third after his result over at Silverstone was not quite to be desired, like to Luka Furlich there in 4th position, and those technical difficulties for Tom Sadlerly dropping him back down to 5th position overall in the championship. It's mighty close, actually, between 3rd and 7th in the championship, with the likes of Stoyan Barbakov and Andrea Dalla Valle not a million miles away at the moment in terms of how this championship is stacking out. And of course, over 6 rounds, there are going to be some very interesting challenges. The week after this, we head to Zandvoort, follow that, the Circuit d'Azur, and then the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit finishes off proceedings for the season. But for the time being anyway, it is the Philip Kraus show in the amateur category championship, but there are going to be a lot of drivers trying to take that perch away today at the top end of order, and that top end of the order comes along with the likes of Sam Carpenter, Pierre-Andre Previdi, but there are going to be a lot of drivers who will be hoping that they have themselves what it takes, put themselves right at the very, very top of the order here in this event. Worth talking about the prizes, of course. Thrustmaster coming in along with GT Omega for these fantastic prizes that these drivers are going to be getting as they all make a run down the front stretch, down the pit lane, over to start their practice. Going to be so very, very important for them here today. They get 10 minutes of official practice going on before they move over towards the next sort of racing action that comes on after that, which will be qualifying, and then a small 5-minute warm-up session before racing does resume in this season for another hour, for another 20 minutes of what is going to be the very, very strong racing that they're going to have. They race total about 1 hour, 40 minutes over the course of the season. So they have to work hard through every single result to make sure that every 20 minutes seems to matter. But let's talk about this circuit for a moment. It goes up, it goes down, it goes all around. It's formerly been the San Marino Grand Prix. It's been the resting place of the legendary Ayrton Senna. And it has been one of the most beautiful places to have a race and a battle at. Of course, Who can forget Michael Schumacher, Fernando Alonso, 2005, the crowning, or the passing of the torch, some would say, with Alonso's very strong defense that he had at the end. And this is a track where you can defend at. You can be aggressive. You can hold positions back, as Previdi will try and prove, heading through the Variante Alta, which can be an underrated place to go out there and get a move, coming out of the Acque Minerale section of circuit as they now descend down the hill towards the Ravazza curves. Out on track, 2 90-degree left-handers, one very heavily down the hill, which is going to rely on the brakes going red hot as you hit yourself on the brakes. Second corner, of course, is a flat 90-degree left as they head down the modified 1 kilometer front stretch, which lisks over to the right. Of course, they do not take the Variante Bassa chicane anymore. That is a moto layout chicane as worked out for the circuit. This is Tamburello chicane. It's a circuit of a lot of chicanes. It's all about testing the tyres as you go through the left, right, left, before you now head to the Villeneuve chicane. If you can't get it done at Tamburello, the prime place to get it done, then Villeneuve, you might just have a chance. And if you run wide and you find the gravel and the grass, could be in a little bit of trouble, as we saw earlier on World Pro Racing Programming with the likes of the EWSK Formula Super Masters, which came here and had some brilliant racing action around this place. So, 7.5 minutes left in this practice, and a few drivers then will be looking to try and see who's got what it takes, who's got the pace around this place, and we'll see who maybe has the form book in their hand to go and challenge with a couple of drivers here up at front. The first time should be running in just a few moments' time. The likes of Felipe Caneo making his way down the front stretch should be one of the first to set a representative lap time here in this 10-minute practice session, and long drag over to the start-finish line should be a good enough time, but is not. So ultimately will not improve then for the time being. Kraus, though, might be the first to put himself on the board, and actually does not there at that point in time. So a few drivers not finding times in the early stages. This track is a little bit tough when it comes to the limits, as Sam Carpenter actually does set the fastest time at the moment, 1:36.6. Currently the quickest, and that is 1.3 seconds quicker than anybody else at this moment in time. So that's going to be a really interesting scenario. Sam Carpenter clearly with pace. Barbakov up second then in practice. He's 1 second off the pace there or thereabouts. There's someone going off in the background. I don't think that was Alan Smith, but more rather Liam Mangan, who I think found himself in a little bit of a tizzy there, going through the Villeneuve chicane. Had to be very cautious there. Every driver thinks that Villeneuve chicane's a lot quicker than it is. It's a fast entry left into a slower right-hand, almost 90-degree corner, and you cannot be aggressive around this Imola circuit. This circuit really does bite back. It has anti-cut curbs practically everywhere around this place. So the moment you know you're trying to get yourself a way through at any given point in time, sometimes it just does not work around this place, and you lose a whole heap of time jumping through position upon position upon position. Kirsten Abeja moving to 6th place. Caneo jumps up to second on a 1:37 flat. Good time by Caneo to move up into the second position then in practice with 5 minutes to go. But there's Philip Kraus just casually putting himself half a second in front of anybody else on the field. That comes down to 4/10 though, with Previdi jumping down. Then suddenly it's 3/10 as Sam Carpenter decides to join in on the party. You can stay within a range on this track, in a drafting range, in a slipstream margin, but not if you're going to be driving as aggressive as that Sam heading through the third part of Tamburello. So ultimately trying to get through, and you cannot afford to be that little bit too aggressive around here. We've said so many times before, and we can say it until the sun shines and also the cows come home. So at this point, drivers will have themselves a lot to go out there and go for it. Alberto Sartori, one of them, looking to try and improve from 9th position at the moment. A handful of drivers yet to set times here in practice, and those include the likes of Raimo Okus, who is one of those drivers who is yet to set a representative time. Liam Rance, Alessandro Verni you can put in there. Luca Furlich as well. Furlich, someone who had a very, very promising Silverstone race, got himself up into 3rd position overall when all of the racing finished up for him, and we'll be hoping that this will be something similar right now, trying to find the right result around this track, which can be very, very difficult to find when drivers do tend to find a mistake or two around this place. And there are a lot of places to get the overtake done. We've seen it happen so many times before around this place. There's also a lot of places to lose a whole heap of seconds. Every corner is seemingly a big loss if you get it wrong. If you just slightly step out of line, out of marker around this place. It has some elements that make it feel a little bit narrow, a little bit intimidating, this track, especially the run to rFactor, where both walls encroach in on the left and right hand sides, and you feel like you've really got nowhere to go if a mistake should happen. As now heading back down the front stretch once again, probably the widest part of the circuit for Luca Furlich. He'll be looking to try and improve on a nothing at the moment, and heading over to the line, long run over to the start-finish line of 37.6 is good enough for 6th position, 1.5 seconds off of the pace at the moment, with just 2.5 minutes left to go here in practice. So drivers like Sheldon Scott Muscat will be needing a good result after running into a few difficulties at Silverstone. Definitely proved that he had the pace to go out there and challenge, but a non-finish after the opening lap at Adria, followed by 0 points, finishing outside of the top 15. Now you start looking at Sheldon Scott Muscat going, well, points are going to be very much needed around here today for any sort of result in the championship. And some of these drivers will be looking at, okay, can I pick up a little thing here, a little thing there? There are opportunities knocking at every point in time. It just so happened that these drivers will be looking for the right result here at Imola to take to the second half of the season as they move on to Zandvoort. But some drivers are just finding a whole heap of pace, and Philip Kraus is one of them. He's all of a sudden 0.8 of a second clear of everybody else at this moment. Almost 8.5 over Sam Carpenter. And of course, with pace like this, you start to look and say, well, there are going to be no changes of category going from category Pro to category Am and vice versa, from Am to Pro. But if ever there were a candidate, at the moment, that's the shining light, we could say here, with Philip Kraus up ahead by 0.8 of a second here in practice. If you have not already, though, ladies and gentlemen, please like, share, and subscribe for more great action here when it comes to World Pro Racing. Some brilliant stuff comes along through these books, and when you see some of the best racers go at it on the planet, you know that this is the place where you have to go out here and watch just how amazing this is all going to be. So we'll see how this one works out for these drivers. Qualifying is going to happen in about 30 seconds or so. Some drivers may be holding some cards a little bit closer to their chest. Some drivers will be looking at maybe just holding back, maybe just running off the track slightly, deliberately invalidating the lap to find maybe that there's going to be more to see when qualifying comes about. And of course, those 10 minutes in qualifying become very, very crucial. The timer ticks down to 2 to 1 and now over to 0. And that will mean that practice has officially expired with Philip Kraus top of the time at this moment in time, and will be looking to try and go on and get pole position in the qualifying session coming up. And that should be really, really entertaining to see out here on this track. So for the time being, qualifying will be coming up, and it will be a mad scramble once again to get into position. 18 drivers at the moment currently in session at the moment. That goes all the way down to Raffaello Morga, who did not set a time in as one of the 18 drivers here at Imola today. So qualifying, mad scramble now to get out of the pits, to get down to the end of the lane. And who's going to be the first name? Kirsten Abeja looks like that first trying to just slowly run it, pit limited speeds. In fact, there is one driver who has jumped ahead. That's Alessandro Verni, as the green light comes on at the end of the pits. They pass the Corvette safety car, and they get themselves ready to go for 10 minutes of qualifying. We saw over those 10 minutes, you only get 6 laps max, maybe, and it's going to be about trying to get every time working. Kraus, for example, going, side by side, and actually battling there. Was Kraus, though, Kirsten Beher? That's going to be interesting there to see. And, of course, this race is live stewarded. I am Jake Sperry, joined on the cameras by Justin Mifsud, and of course Adrian Fagayo and George Muscat, your race director and chief steward, respectively, working hard over the course of this event, and they'll be looking to try and make sure that this goes as smoothly as possible from their standards, and hoping that the driving standards today are going to be as impeccable as they tend to be over the course of this series. So, for the time being, drivers now look at track position here around this place. You do sort of need a draft, but this is a track where you've got a lot of medium to fast speed corners around this place. The likes of the Villeneuve chicane, the run through Piratella corner, and then heading down through Acque Minerale. You can't afford to really have too much of that turbulence going over the car. Of course, you're not going to see very much in these Griiip G1s, and slipstream could become a more prevalent factor than that. So we'll see who puts themselves in the best placed position, go out then and attack the lap around this place. This is going to be pretty much what's needed. Huge slide there in the background behind Philip Kraus. Just trying to see who that was. Just having a little bit of a moment. And I think it may have been Furlich who could have run into a few troubles, but it doesn't look like that. It may have been Furlich's teammate Liam Rance, which it was. So it was Liam Rance running into a couple of issues there. These vehicles, very much, as we've said, over the course of the first couple of rounds, like, I would say, a little bit more beefed up go-karts. You can kick the tail out in these vehicles. You do have to work hard. This is a momentum-based car. Of course, all cars have some form of momentum, but this is a car which is all prided on carrying the speed to make sure a lap happens. More than mechanical grip, more than speed, as there's another slide just going on in front, up through Tozer Corner there in front of Liam Rance, which is not going to be helpful. That was Sam Carpenter, and that's one of the keys to the Tozer Corner. It is one of the quietest corners in terms of hairpins in all of racing and all of sim racing. But the big key about that corner is that you're turning and you're heading straight back up the hill, and that is a difference maker when it comes to racing around that track. All about making sure that you do not struggle on exit, on power application when the hill starts to rise and then the troubles start to come into play. But first times will be starting to come in on the board ever so shortly here. These drivers will be looking to try and make sure they've got everything that they need. Pravidi already on to lap 2. He's had to abandon his first lap as he's gone on through, but the likes of Philip Kraus will be key to keep an eye out on for the first time in that bright red Griiip G1 vehicle, looking to make that push over to the line in tow as well. At a 35.5 is pole for the moment, just 0.07 of a second clear of Sam Carpenter at the moment, and that's a drift, and that will be an abandoned lap for the second time. Tarek Njumi up to 4th there as Kirsten Beher currently in 3rd. Jumped by Luca Furlich, though, 1.2 seconds off at this moment in time, so needing to find a little bit more. Alan Smith up into 6th on a 1:39, jumped down to 7th because there's Stoyan Barbakov comfortably getting within 1.3 seconds of the pole time there on a 36.9 out on track. So some good times coming in the early stages. Slightly longer laps, slightly more elongated times we're going to see between a few drivers in the grid. Nathan Mifsud has gone 7th on a 38.1 at this moment in time. So he'll be looking to try and get himself going on forward through the field, as he is currently 7th, looking to improve on where he is at this point. So likes of Sheldon Scott Muscat out there on a lap. Heavy anti-cut curbs, though, and in the grass. That should be a lap that is invalidated because of it. And some of these drivers are going to be in positions of struggle over the course of this qualifying. Only 2 drivers within a second at the moment. Tells you how tough this circuit is to really maximize, to really unlock in these vehicles, and it is a 2-horse race at the halfway stage then of this qualifying session. Like so, Raimo Okus gets set times. Liam Rance, Alessandro Verni jumping up to 6th place on a 37.2. That will be a good news there for Alessandro, then getting himself up to the 3rd row of the grid at the moment, as other drivers will be looking for times as someone jumps up. Liam Mangan is in 10th, but that was Raffaello Morga moving up into 8th position in qualifying on a 1:37.9. He's 2.4 off of pole. Luka Furlich, though, has improved on his time in 3rd position. He is now 6.5 tenths of a second off of pole position at this moment. So, Luka Furlich now onto the 2nd row, and this is one of the tracks where you do have a pretty good run heading towards turn number 2. Out on track being the Tamburello chicane, a small kink left counts as turn 1. Raimo Okus goes into 8th place, bumping down the likes of Liam Mangan and Raffaello Morga, who are both 9th and 10th position, respectively. Idan Kaufman has gone to 13th on a 41.4, so that will be 5.8 seconds off of pole position at the moment, and more changes on the board, as there is Pierre-Andre Previdi, who is 3rd in the championship and currently 5th on the timing stands. He's 1.5 seconds off a pole position at this point, and he knows that he's got to find a whole heap of time, jump up to the likes of Luka Furlich, Sam Carpenter and Philip Kraus. It's maybe damage limitation for Previdi, who finds himself in P3 overall. So we will see whether there will be that improvement or not. With 3 minutes to go, drivers should be looking around for their last couple of laps. Sheldon Scott Muscat jumps to 5th, though. Alessandro Verni jumps to 4th. All of a sudden, 4 drivers within a second. Sheldon Scott Muscat, 1.031 off a pole position, which has been set by Philip Kraus, who's out there on track, heading through the 2nd of the Ravazza corners, and now making that push over towards the line. We'll see whether there's improvement. Rance in 8th place now as he's moved up. Caneo now 10th, but here is Kraus looking to improve on a 35.5 and does not improve on that lap time. He did a 35.7, so that's not quite good enough to make that one work. So Kraus looking for a little bit more. Here's Sam Carpenter, who's just behind, and that's an advantage to being just behind in terms of times. 35.616 his best, and he gets himself gearing up for a flyer then as he goes on through. So, all coming down to a showdown between Kraus and Carpenter at the moment, but every other driver will be looking to improve. Okus stays 11th for the time being. The likes of Nathan Mifsud down there in 16th place. They're 2.5 seconds off of pole at the moment, needing 76 thousandths to move up ahead of Alan Smith. So all these drivers searching for time, searching for just a little bit more. Here is Kraus, for example, heading himself out of Tamburello and towards the left-right chicanes here. This will be an outlap, surely, as he looks to try and get himself going, because Carpenter is heading through the Piratella corner and looking to try and really work his lap. So Kraus, on an outlap, should have himself enough time to get himself over the line. Drivers who are out on track now have that opportunity to go and set a lap. Drivers who aren't, Tarek Njumi, Idan Kaufman, who are 5 and 6 seconds off the pace respectively, they will not have any improvement when it comes to their lap time. So Carpenter heading down the hill now towards the Ravazza corner. A small flick right always seems to catch out the drivers. They have to hit the brakes hard. You can see how Carpenter is really leaning on the rears, trying to go through these corners and out of the final corner, trying to make that run over to the start-finish line. Muscat will not improve on his time. He will go no quicker than the 5th. And there is Sam Carpenter, bumped down by Furlich, 135.5. Carpenter goes quickest, 135.375. Suddenly, Philip Kraus needs to find a lap at the death here that gets him an extra 10th. Furlich will go no quicker, and he will start no higher than 3rd. This is Alessandro Verni making his way over the line. I expect this to be an outlap potentially here in terms of times, and over the line, no shades of improvement right now. Pravidi's in the gravel, so he won't improve. Barbakov in 6th can, and also Sam Carpenter's going for another go around. So what can Philip Kraus find on his lap? 10 seconds to go here in qualifying. Kaneo will get over the line, and I expect maybe the likes of Liam Rance will have one more go. Yes, Liam Rance will. He's 8th at the moment, and he decides, I can't go any quicker. Timer expires in qualifying. Drivers can finish their lap. Huge slide from Sam Carpenter through Acque Minerale, and all his time is gone. So now it relies on Kraus, or maybe Verny, or maybe Barbakov to find the pole position. This is Kraus right now, trying to make his way through the left-hand corner of Piratella Corner, down the hill, down the valley to Acque Minerale, and on the brakes hard through the next right-hander. Use all the circuit, hits the anti-cut curb slightly, has to be careful of that, and now trying to push right-left comes up next. This is the Variante Alta, tamer it used to be. Huge slide going through the first part, carrying all the speed through the second. Has he invalidated the lap though by going too far? Yes, he has, and will abandon ship. Carpenter comes down the lane. Here comes Barbakov, 3/10 to get to 4th for Stoyan. Over the line he goes, and goes 5th. So that is enough to move up ahead of Sheldon Scott Muscat. Good lap time. Only 2 drivers can improve. Raimo Okus is one of them, coming to the line, and goes 5th on a 36.4. He found that out of his back pocket. He's been nowhere all qualifying, and he's just found it. Kaneo will be the last driver over the line, and will need to improve on 11th place. Ran a little bit wide there through the final corner. Has that cost him the lap as he goes on through? He's 2 seconds off the pace, and he's 2/10 to get to Kirsten Abeja at the moment. Over the line goes Kaneo, and he does not improve. So Carpenter will be on pole position with Kraus alongside Furlich, Verny, Okus, Barbakov, Muscat, Pravidi, Ranson, Abeja, your top 10. But we're going to pay a couple of bills here, ladies and gentlemen. Racing action resumes after this. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Want to quit your day job? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
This is bad. Wait, let's just do it ourselves.
It is not fear that grips him, only restlessness. a heightened sense of things. The smell of engine and sweat, the engine rattling his blood, the crowd roaring. The race is about to start. He breathes deeply to focus. In this league, he finally found what he was looking for. A true passion.
Sono Massimo Paganini e per anni ho cercato una macchina che mi desse gioia, adrenalina nella guida e finalmente l'ho trovata nella G1 Series. Se anche tu vuoi provare una macchina che ti dia gioia e adrenalina, G1 Series 2020.
So, you think you got what it takes to race in the G1 Series? Can you keep your concentration? Even in the most stressed situations, can you keep pushing even when things go wrong? Can you master different environments? Can you adapt immediately to different conditions? Can you keep learning? Learning from your opponents, learning from your mistakes, learning from everyone, anytime, anywhere, until you reach your goal and become the best you can. Think you got what it takes to race in the 2020 G1 Series? Then fill in the form now.
Want real followers? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your Griiip G1 fantastic Virtual Series 2020. And I say fantastic because we had a real showdown in qualifying. It looked like it was going to be a two-horse race all the way, but it was ultimately just a two-horse race. Just about had a third competitor come at the end of qualifying. We're about 4 minutes away from the start of your AM category racing going on out on track as they race for GT Omega, and Thrustmaster provided sponsorship, provided winnings, so to speak, from this event, which is, of course, presented by Fiverr. Hashtag making it work here today. So, now we start to look over towards this race. It's going to be a hard challenge for these drivers. They know that it's a track where you can follow in line, and a lot of time you find yourself following in line, but there's a whole heap of time to be gained. It's one of the few circuits that you can find in the world where it's all reliant about how much you can carry through a corner. And carrying speed through a corner seems like it's an easy job enough. Oh, you just go at this speed and you drive through this corner and it should stick and stay. But it's going to be one of those tracks where you compound on it, because you've got the aerodynamic effects, of course, of downforce, which means you have to go faster to go through the corner faster. But you've got corners which really do bite if you get it wrong. So a lot of drivers do tend to tippy-toe around circuits like these, hoping that they're not going to fall into any sort of troubles here today. And that might just be the case for a couple of drivers, just hoping that they've got to tippy-toe around this Imola circuit and hope that they do not run into any troubles at all. So, Sam Carpenter, crucially, on the pole position, will need to have a good result to try and limit the gap down to Philip Kraus, who is going to be alongside him on the grid. And if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you like, make sure that you share, make sure you subscribe, make sure that you tell your mum, your dad, your friends, your friends' friends, your goldfish, your hamster, your guinea pig, anyone who will listen about World Pro Racing, because it is absolutely sensational, some of the racing that you can see here, and arguably you find some of the best league racing in all of rFactor 2, and arguably some of the best sim racing that you can find, full stop, here with World Pro Racing. So make sure that you get yourself on the bandwagon for that one, and if you are going to be on the bandwagon, tell people that, you know, Jake Sperry sent you, as drivers will be looking to get themselves ready in about a minute and a half's time to get themselves looking towards the race. This is another one of those tracks where that run to turn 1, 2, 3 can very easily cause a lap 1 incident. It's a very narrow chicane. You can go too wide, but you have to be brave to go too wide sort of first chicane. So with those anti-cut curbs, if there is going to be some side-by-side, there could be a few margins for error. So they can't really afford those, but they have to make sure that they leave just about enough space through the opening couple of corners, as they will all try and just move on forward. Just find a couple little areas that can make it work. And the last thing they're going to want is a drive-through penalty here today, because, of course, this track has a very, very long pit lane, and that will compound the issues as it goes right from where the track used to kink right, coming out of the second ravazza, and then over towards that final chicane that used to be, of course, the Variante Bassa, which was so incredible to see drivers looking to try and get that one correct. Mika Hakkinen very famously slamming into the wall at that section of road. But these drivers hopefully won't get any opportunity to do that on a fast straight down towards Tamburello. But these drivers now need to know what they have to do. They have to go and get the best result possible out there, what their talent, what their vehicle can offer them. This is now their opportunity to try and make some ground, to try and build some momentum, to try and close down a margin, and to try and get everything working in their favour. Warm-up is all but complete, so in the next couple of moments we're going to take ourselves down to the starting grid and work out how everybody stacked up after qualifying in full, and then we'll get ourselves hopefully a pace lap and then get everybody running around with a good run as they battle against the time, try and make sure that everything all works out. So confirmation, Sam Carpenter on pole position with Philip Kraus, the man who has won the opening 2 rounds of this AM category championship alongside. Following that is Luca Furlich and Alessandro Verni, 3rd and 4th, with Raimo Okus in 5th and Stoyan Barbakov in 6th. Sheldon Scott Muscat starts 7th with Pierre-Andre Previdi in 8th. Liam Rance starts 9th, and it will be Kirsten Abeja rounding out the top 10. Following that, Felipe Caneo, Liam Mangan, Alberto Sartori, Raffaello Morga, Alan Smith, it will be a pace lap, Nathan Mifsud, Idan Kaufman in 17th, and Tarek Njumi, who's been struggling a little bit here today with staying in server. He will start at the back of the grid on the outside of the 9th row here in 18th position. And of course, top 15 score, 35 points for a race win here in this series. But what's crucial is how those points stack out. It's 35 for a win, and then it's 5-point margins, 30 for 2nd, 25 for 3rd, 20 for 4th, 15 for 5th, and then 10 points for a 6th place finish. After that, it's 1 point down all the way to that 15th place, which holds 1 solitary point, which last time out belonged to Christian Pintz, who got himself through into that 1 point. He's not here today, but ultimately we hope to see him back and hope to see him racing very, very soon. We are starting to hit the hot season in Europe right now as we head from May, looking towards June, coming up very soon. So these drivers will soon, if they are in that European peninsula, have the issue of dealing with hotter and hotter conditions to try and race with and try and work in and get those results. And that's something that's often not talked about, is the fact that these drivers who do find themselves in really hot temperatures, yes, it may be later in the day, so to speak, this series is being run, but they still have to deal with incredibly hot room temperatures with pretty hot equipment that they'll be running about with. So they've got to keep that in mind, that the longer this series goes on, 6 weeks back to back to back to back to back to back, as they will all go. So not really a large turnaround, and with some drivers in the pro category getting themselves big drives for Le Mans coming up, and that huge announcement from ACO, I think quite a few different drivers may look at their priorities and think, well, 5,000 is nice, but what's going to get me the most attention over the course of racing? So that's going to be in the back of a couple of people's minds later on. But these drivers, they know what they're racing for. They don't often get as many opportunities as those who are right up there at the very top, but this is time to showcase their pace, as the drivers like Sam Carpenter will now start sighting for a grid slot here out on track. And when they do find that grid slot, they'll be waiting for the last driver to hit that mark and make sure that they can have the best start available here today. So Sam Carpenter looking for his stall. It's going to be on the front. He'll have the inside into turn number 1. He's also got the nice grippy tarmac there on the inside, so he'll have the best possible start available. Watch out though for Kraus on the dirty side. Alessandro Verni from 4th had a fantastic qualifying as well. Could make some great progress. Barbakov can get hot-headed. Needs to try and find some good results. Everybody up on the grid then. Lights will start to come on. And let's get ourselves ready for racing action. 20 minutes starts now. And Sam Carpenter has absolutely blitzed away off of the start. Small struggles a little bit further back. Some too wide going on. It looks like it's going to be Verni having to defend here into the opening stages of the corners here. Into Tamburello for the first time. Okus making a way through then on Barbakov, just about holding off the position. Vehicle going off wide. That's Pravidi's going to drop back. Maybe a handful of positions, about 5, as they go through some side-by-sides. Beha currently drops back a little bit. Caneo trying to get through, and Sheldon Scott Muscat, and does so with a bit of contact. Muscat's going to go hard into the gravel and drop all the way back, but Sam Carpenter unchallenged then off of the start. So they head up through Toza for the very first time then in this race. Drivers making positions. Here's Liam Rance trying to find a way through on Stoyan Barbakov for 6th position up at Piratella corner. It's a 90-degree left-hand bend. Going to be close. Contact as they go through, but ultimately it's going to be enough to go down the hill at Acqua Minerale. And is there going to be a look on the outside? No, there's not. Liam Rance hits the brakes very, very early, and through then goes Barbakov, but Barbakov has run wide, and there's some side-by-side here as Luka Furlich drops back behind Raimo Okus down into 4th place. All of a sudden, the top 3 have already broken away from the rest of the pack at the moment, but still, Rance refuses to give up with Stoyan Barbakov all the way to rFactor's. They'll go, they're side by side behind. This is Pravidi trying to find a way by Kirsten Abeja, and has done so. So Kirsten must go behind. Barbakov holding on to place at the moment, but Pravidi crucially needs to find points compared to Philip Kraus, who's currently in 2nd position. Big slide in the background there behind Liam Mangan. That would be Alan Smith, who drops behind Raffaello Morga then, and down into 13th place off of the start. A clean start here, as clean as it can be, some would argue, here at this fantastic circuit. Furlich coming back at Raimo Okus. He's got the position. Barbakov and Rance are off, though, at turn 1. How has that happened? Have they just gone far too deep? Rance was looking to the outside to try and get that move. Caneo's dropped places as well. It's been a huge accident. Pravidi has been involved in it as well, so we'll stay with everything. There's a huge fight going on. So Pravidi all the way back, and now it's suddenly pack mentality. Mangan and Sartori and Sheldon Scott Muscat, Edon Kaufman. It's going to be under pressure from Nathan Mifsud in towards Toza corner. Can't quite find the move done, but look at this, a change to the race lead. Philip Kraus has taken it, did so round the outside of Toza. Takes a brave driver to do that, but the mistake from Sam Carpenter, all of a sudden, is a change for the race lead. Kraus, then Carpenter, then Alessandro Verni in 3rd position then in this race. It's been an incredible start to this one as they head themselves through the opening sections then of this race going on. Still though, a lot of battling up and down the order as every driver looks to try and get into position. Mangan looking like he was going to be under pressure from Alberto Sartori. No such luck at the moment. The mid-pack very close together and will be all scrapping to try and gain some places. Here comes Mangan actually. Alan Smith, who's in 10th now, could be back down to 11th. On the brakes, Mangan's gonna find a way down the inside without too many issues at all. That was a comfortable move to get inside the top 10 once again. Out on track. Luka Furlich, though, in 4th, trying to get going, and Philip Kraus has suddenly got the bit between his teeth. He's realised all of a sudden, oh, hang on a minute, I need to get out of this pack. It's a 3-car scrap. I need it to be all about me. He's 0.8 of a second clear as he crossed the line, and through the first sector, it looks like that could be just a little bit more as they go on through. Crucially, though, still some changes of position. Raffaello Morga has lost 3 places then, coming down through Tamburello, and that is Sartori going through, so now down to 12th goes Raffaello Morga. All of a sudden, Mangan, look at this, trying to go back down at Alan Smith, who came straight back at him at the Villeneuve chicane, and he's got the move back. So, Mangan now up into 9th position, and trying to really charge forward in this race, and trying to gain the next place possible as they move on through. So, that mid-pack scrap, very, very close, but Carpenter suddenly finds himself under pressure. If he doesn't have the tow, if he doesn't have the draft, he's going to be in a whole world of hurt. Tarkan Jumi becomes the first retirement then of this race, down to 17 drivers as Kaneo has dropped right down to the back of the field now. All of a sudden, as Mifsud and Kaufman, they change places as for the time being, Sam Carpenter has seen a huge gap now rise over Alessandro Verni. Not much that Verni could do about that. He's going to drop back in terms of time. He was 3/10 back, and he's going to be a lot further at the moment. So, a 10-second stop and go for Liam Rance, who's in 8th place. And that would be for the incident that came along with Pierre-Andre Pravidi. So that's going to hurt. Look at the scrapping going on here as this is Raffaello Morga trying to get past Sheldon Scott Muscat for 12th place. He's got some great tow. He's trying to look on the outside to get this one done, and he's going to try and get himself back to the inside quickly. Has he got it? So Noah's Ark too wide, too deep, as behind that there's a change, and off goes Alan Smith. Is that Alan Smith who's gone off? Yes, it is. So Sartori up to 8. Smith's now slow. So Alan Smith running off into mistakes down at turn number 2. So how has that one happened for Alan as he went on through on the brakes? There behind him was trying to look a move, but he just caught the curves, and actually there was another car off there, and that was, I believe, Liam Rance as well. So Rance not only will have a drive-through penalty, but he had a spin down at turn 2. So all of a sudden, all that time is going away. Now at the front of the field, though, Sam Carpenter has suddenly got the bit between his teeth once again. He realised very quickly he can't let Philip Kraus run away, and he's starting to close that gap back down. 6.5 tenths at the last sector, and now trying to close down even more. We are 6 minutes in, out of the 20 right now, and on the brakes into the left-handers. He comes along. Morga, though, seeing moves done in the background here. Oh, contact there. That's Pravidi straight around there, down at the Variante Alta, or up at the Variante Alta, I should say, coming up the hills, fighting with Alan Smith, who was all over the place trying to defend the position. So what happens here? Pravidi goes for the inside, trying to make the move, and he just gets it horribly wrong. Very lucky he didn't take Raffaello Morga out in the process, but ultimately now back in 13th place. After all of that, the mid-pack of the field looks like it's absolutely anything as Rance comes down in and makes his stop. So Kraus leads, Carpenter 2nd, Verni 3rd, Furlich and Okas 4th and 5th, that's no worries. Barbakov in 6th, that's fine. But now it's a who's who going on a little bit backwards. So in terms of that, it's another 10-second stop and go for Liam Rance for his contact with Stoyan Barbakov. So he's got 2 of them that he's going to have to serve. So that's going to be a nightmare for Liam Rance. But ultimately, Mangan 7th, Sartori now in 8th. And here's Raffaello Morga under pressure from Sheldon Scott Muscat as there's contact, and that's Pravidi going to go into the tyres. They're heading through the Villeneuve chicane with side-by-side with Idan Kaufman, who, remember, really struggled in qualifying, doesn't really have as much pace. You can see Pravidi had all sorts for him as he tried to go to the inside, but ultimately on the brakes through the right. Was there contact on entry? Yes, there was, tyre to tyre, and Pravidi hit the tyre bundle there in the wrong part of the circuit. That would not have been part of the plan. Mark my word. Still, though, Sam Carpenter chasing down Philip Kraus. Here's the halfway stage. Will come along in the next lap and a little bit then in this race. And it has been an entertaining start to proceedings. We'll see if they can carry on with the way that things are going right now over the start-finish line. To get 0.4 of a second into Tamburello, and not close enough yet is Sam Carpenter. Now he's got to steady himself, poise himself for the one big move that maybe he will get. Side by side, the Raffaello Morga, Sheldon Scott Muscat down the front stretch towards turn 2, and Muscat's going to just about have it at the line by not very much, and then he'll have the nose here down on the inside. Morga will try and come back, but he's out of time. Morga heavy over the anti-cuts, and he will drop a lot of time. Sheldon Scott Muscat does enough and holds station for the time being, so no real worries about that for the moment. You've got Pravidi, Kaufman, and Caneo all in a pack with Kirsten Beher and Nathan Mifsud trying to get in on this as well. This is 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th out on the road. Is there going to be a move into the Villeneuve chicane? Mifsud's close, but ultimately they're both chasing down the likes of Edan Kaufman, so they'll want to get by pretty quickly at the moment. Edan Kaufman, harshly in my view, gets a drive-through penalty then for the incident with Pierre-Andre Pravidi. It was close between them, but ultimately contact be contact and contact be more contact as they went on forward. So now he's got to start looking at times right now, because I think Alessandro Verni here might not be a million miles away safe for this podium. Luka Furlic is not too far away. He's only 2 seconds down the road in terms of battles, so this could get a little bit more aggressive in the not too distant future. Sam Carpenter, though, again in the draft, 0.4 of a second, again crossing the line, again stuck in a range, but now this is the holding pattern which drivers tend to find that struggle with. They've got to make sure that they find that move. If they don't find the move, then there's going to be all sorts of hurt that are going to come along for it. So Sam Carpenter through the left, through the right of Villeneuve, taking a very even line compared to Philip Kraus. They were very similar as they went on through, but a wider entry for Sam Carpenter, trying to open up the exit as much as possible. This is going to be a tall order to try and get this move done and to move up another position in this race. Pravidi, though, under pressure. This is Edan Kaufman, who's just gone by, or actually he's just got by Kaufman right now. Kaufman needs to come in, serve his drive-through penalty. Missed it, trying to go around the outside now and get the move done. Oh, that's brave to take all 4 tyres on the grass and still has himself alongside for Villeneuve. This is going to be a big move, but he can't quite get it alongside. Position stays the same for the time being as they keep on in this race at half distance. Kraus from Carpenter, from Verni, from Furlich, from Okus. At the moment, those drivers pretty much all on islands, so to speak, as they have their scrap out on track. Here's a Beher trying to go through on Kaufman. Mifsud got his move through and around the outside of Piratella. Little bit of the outside there, but Beher has done just enough. Here comes a look maybe for the race lead. Sam Carpenter trying to get close enough to get a dive down at turn 1. You can see the gap, 1/10 as they went over the line. Going to look the outside way to try and get this move done, and he can't quite get himself there on the brakes. But has Kraus pushed a little bit too far wide, heading through that opening Tamburello chicane? You can see how close Sam Carpenter is, but he is just not quite close enough as they head through the left-right chicane of Villeneuve. And now, yes, heading towards Tozer's hairpin on the brakes up the hill once again. So it's going to be an interesting scrap right now. We're seeing drivers looking at every position, hoping there's going to be a change, but at the moment they are very much struggling to go out there and find any meaningful overtakes at this moment in time. Back up the hill and down the hill again go your leading two, who currently need to just focus on themselves. They've got the gap to the car behind, and a lot of curb taken by Kraus coming out of Aqua Minerale there. He's got to be careful about running too wide, but Sam Carpenter just sitting, just waiting, just scouting for that chance, and that chance should come, but he's got to stay close, and that's the only key he's got. Stay close, force the mistake out of Philip Kraus. He'll be there for lap after lap the way that Kraus defends. Mark my words about it. at this point in time. In terms of other battles, here's some side-by-side. This is Pravidi trying to find a way through on Felipe Caneo. This is for 12th and 13th places here in this race. Down the hill of Acqua Minerale and trying to get the move sorted. Not quite there for the time being, as once more the leaders nose to tail over the start-finish line. Once more the outside line looking from Sam Carpenter. Once more not close enough to lunge on the brakes down the inside to force Kraus off his line. Not quite has been the story of this race so far. To Villeneuve again, close, but you need to be alongside at the Villeneuve chicane. Not quite. Slide there from Carpenter. In terms of Pravidi's battle, he has fallen behind Caneo, and Pravidi would be on for just 3 points here and would lose a whole heap of ground as long as the championship stays going. Liam Rance, though, is out. Down at turn number 2, I believe it is. The suspension gives it up over the anti-cut curves and straight on into the tyres with a hefty thump. Liam Rance, who's had troubles all day long, out. Side by side, Misson and Abeja going at it, and it is Kirsten Abeja who just manages to hold the place. Nathan Mifsud stuck behind and will have to wait just a bit longer for any opportunities here. Wide line from Kraus once more, and once again, you start to look at the same old positions. P1, P2, still close, still fighting, still going to be on for it. Sam Carpenter's got to find the overtake, and not only does he have to do it, he's got to do it soon. He's running out of laps to make sure that that happens, but he gets a good run out of the second Ravazza, and he's had that time and time again, but I don't think he's close enough compared to where he was a few laps ago. That gap's going to be tight, but not enough. You feel 2 tenths again. That's not quite a position, but this time it's not guarded as he thinks about getting in the mirrors. Down on the inside, trying to force Kraus into a mistake, but Kraus is having absolutely none of it at the moment. Philip Kraus doing enough here to hold Sam Carpenter at bay at this moment in time. Also, this battle starts to close. 8th and 9th position. Sheldon Scott Muscat trying to get back past Alberto Sartori here to try and get that 8th position, and it's going to be a crucial fight here for Sheldon. Remember, he's not scored any points in the first 2 races here going on, and is that the engine? That's the engine for Alberto Sartori, giving up the ghost on the downshift, and Sartori is going to be out as the engine blows up. So Alberto Sartori race over from 8th position, and that is a huge shame. We were getting geared up for a battle, but Alberto Sartori's engine gives up the ghost as they go on through Tamburello. Carpenter, heavy over the anti-cut curves, has to try and take a wider line going forward. And that is time that is lost, crucially, more than anything. He's got to try and work that all back again in the final 5 minutes. Very twitchy as the back steps out for him, heading through the penultimate corner, and there's a mistake then from Philip Kraus, who thought he was safe and he wasn't. Side by side, Berlich in the gravel trying to get past Alessandro Verni. How's that happen? This could put Raimo Okus into position. It was close from Luca Berlich, who had really closed up on Alessandro Verni over the last couple of laps. It caught me by surprise, but look at this from Berlich. Looked for the inside, wasn't there, hit the brakes late, couldn't get it stopped. Could Luca Berlich, and that's why the positions stay the same. Alessandro Verni desperately clinging on to a podium. Look at this, nose to tail. Carpenter and Kraus, they had themselves side by side into Tamburello, but Carpenter couldn't get it done on the outside as they fought through. Now up the hill from Toza, this could be Carpenter's chance. He's got to stay in range. He's 2 tenths back as they head to Piratella. Has he got an angle to the inside? No, but he's got time on his side, but not too much time. That's going to be crucial. He's got to find a way through. Down the hill, Acqua Minerale. Nathan Mifsud comes into pit. That will be for a cut track penalty. Mark my words about that. And of course, 3rd, 4th, 5th, Verni holding off Berlich, holding off Okus at the moment here in this one. 7 seconds off of these two at the front. Carpenter again aggressive over the curbs, which Kraus is mastering here. The Variante Alta is the great equalizer. Kaufman also pits out on track. So Sam Carpenter, what does he have available at this point? On the brakes, into the left then, and now one more left comes along, and again the time just evaporates over the lap and he can't find it. All the draft in the world isn't helping. Same for third, fourth, fifth. All the draft in the world just isn't enough right now. You've also got this one going on. Raffaello Morga and Alan Smith for 9th and 10th place. They're going to be close, and Smith's got a really good run here. May actually have a look to the inside here at the Variante Alta. He does. On the brakes he goes. Raffaello Morga scared into making that error and drops 2 seconds for his troubles. Look at this from Carpenter, all over the wing mirrors. He's been there all race long. We should have 2 laps to go here, ladies and gentlemen. This all of a sudden becomes a key battle. Can Sam Carpenter find that way through on the man who's got 2 straight race wins? If you talk about the colours, they are reversed from Ferrari and Renault, so we'll see. Maybe Sam Carpenter might just have to play the Michael Schumacher role here and stay behind, but he's got to find the move, and this has been the crucial fact. He hasn't been able to get himself that decisive overtake, that look-in, that eye-opening move. And is the mistake coming? He's got to get this section right. Maybe he'll have a crack at Ravazza this lap through. He'll have 1 lap after this. It's close behind Vernie Furlich-Okus, but they're not going to be close enough for a move into this section. Mark my words, this is going to be a grandstand last lap. Here comes one Sam Carpenter trying to get himself in a range. Has he got himself on the brakes here? No. He'll wait for the prime spot. Look how aggressive Kraus is. Going through the first Ravazza, using gravity to his advantage. Through the second corner, pulls out a little bit of a gap, but now here comes the push from one Mr. Sam Carpenter. It's immediately defensive from Philip Kraus, taking the widest line available, making sure he's covering it for the white flag lap, the last lap here in this AM event. Carpenter to the outside, trying to find the move, and he's going to go all the way through. Over the anti-cut curbs he goes, but he's able to keep himself in line. So Kraus now, all of a sudden, has the breakaway. Traffic gets involved, but it stays out of the way. That's Nathan Mifsud there. But ultimately, Sam Carpenter, the chance you feel has just about evaporated at turn number 2. He had the look in, but ultimately, he's relying now on a rare thing from Philip Kraus, and that is a mistake at this moment in time. Luca Furlich still within a touching distance of Alessandro Verni, but the gap is 0.6 of a second at this moment, and it could just be one bridge too far for Luca Furlich to get back up onto the podium. Providi will come down in the final laps for his drive-through penalty that he's got for cutting the track too much. But Sam Carpenter, has he got anything left? Is there a mistake at this chicane? Answer is no. Philip Kraus needs just 2 Ravazza corners to be fine. He's had 1 little hiccup going through Ravazza 2 once only in this race, but he was able to get it to the line quick enough. Final couple corners come along. Ravazza 1 is absolutely fine for Philip Kraus. Ravazza 2 over the curb slightly, but no dramas at all. Philip Kraus will come through the final couple of kinks, and he has had to work hard for this victory. Mark my words about it. 3 from 3. The title looking more in reach for Philip Kraus. Carpenter's damage limitation is second, and Alessandro Verni will come home and pick up a podium then ahead of Furlich and Okus out on circuit. So great work then in terms of those drivers to get those battles. The last drivers will be making pushes over towards the line, but they are gapped pretty considerably right now. Mangan and Sheldon Scott Muscat, the closest of them at the moment. 1.3 seconds though, the margin between them at the last sector. It'll be about 1 second as they come over the start-finish line. 1.1 as they cross. Alan Smith takes an adventurous final corner as he goes on through. It's the final couple of drivers then will look to pick themselves a result out of the rubble, some would say. But confirmation of a result. Philip Kraus picks up the win in 21 minutes and a second and does so by 0.8 over Sam Carpenter. Alessandro Verni will get third with Luca Furlich fourth. Raymer Okus in fifth with Stoyan Barbakov a quiet sixth. Liam Mangan is going to be 7th with 8th place to Sheldon Scott Muscat. Alan Smith gets 9th place with Raffaello Morga rounding out the top 10. And then there's Felipe Caneo in 11th. Kirsten Beja gets 12th. Pierre-Andre Providi 13th. Idan Kaufman 14th place. 1 point for a lap down Nathan Mifsud. And everybody else is on the retirement shelf. The engine blew up for Alberto Sartori. Liam Rance found himself with suspension troubles and damage. galore and penalties galore, and Takanjumi having issues that he could not rid himself of over the course of the racing. So that's the confirmation of the results. Brilliant racing that's gone on as we have Alessandro Verni here, who came home in 3rd position. Alessandro, when we talk about actually how important that race was, unable to stay with the top guys, but had to really fight for that podium.
Hi everyone. Yes, it's a very hard fight for the 3rd position. For the first lap, I tried to catch the first 2 driver, but they gone away after the 3rd lap. So I managed my gap with the 4th. I made a little mistakes. I was on the grass, so I lost 1 second, and the guys behind me catch me. So we do the 7 lap remaining together. It was very hard, but I managed the gap with maybe a low aero, so I can keep the P3. It was good because I was P3 in Silverstone, but I made mistakes, so I lost it. And now I'm my home GP. I got my podium. Well, I live about 5 kilometers from Imola, so it's my really home GP.
Well, some crucial points coming in for you. Of course, you've had 2 home GPs, so to speak, with Adria as well. But in terms of how difficult that race was, there was one moment where it could have so very easily have gone wrong as Luka Furlic tried to dive down the inside of you. Was it a case there at rFactor of just keeping that wide line and hoping that you had faith in the driver that you were battling, that he was just going to run a little bit too deep?
Yeah, I see him. He come on the inside. I left him to come inside because I brake early, and he go too much. He got too much speed in the corner, so he got out of on the grass, and I come back in the position. I hope that he will make mistakes, and fortunately, he done it.
Well, the mistake was there, but you look over to a week's time, Zandvoort coming up next, and that's going to be a very entertaining track, a very interesting track to go and have the battle out, especially with a new Zandvoort in the rFactor 2 works and in the system right now. So in terms of how you feel Zandvoort's going to really affect the way that you take this racing, there's a lot of similarities in terms of the way that Imola and Zandvoort really run. Do you feel like you're in the same place and it's going to be pretty much similar 1 week on?
Well, maybe I never run in Zandvoort before, but I like the track, and I hope I can make another podium because I got the time. My pace is increased from the first race, so I don't think I can win, but the podium I can fight for.
Well, you never know when it comes to racing. So before we let you go, Alessandro, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to Salutino Endurance. That's my colleague team that helped me with the setup during the race. So I just want to thank them.
Well, no worries at all there. Alessandro Verni, a big podium finish, one that was so very much needed here at this fantastic circuit. First place, though, went to one driver who had a fantastic run again today, Philip Kraus. 3 from 3, but that must have been the toughest race of the lot.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good season so far, hasn't it? That was definitely the toughest race this season. I don't think I was the quickest car, sorry, but Sam was definitely quicker than me today. I just got lucky when I got around him at the start of the race, and we were both pretty timid around each other because we didn't really want to get into each other, crash each other, ruin each other's races when we had a big gap over third. So I think that probably contributed to me holding the position because I think if we pushed a bit harder, he probably would have got me.
Well, it was a very tough battle. It seemed like at every opportunity down at Tamburello, it was a case of 2 wide or getting close to that 2 wide margin. Was it always going to be a case of just trying to use as much of the tyre as you possibly could just to keep Sam at an arm's distance so you had that buffer coming down that 1K straight?
Yeah, I wasn't really saving tyres the whole race. It was max attack on the track the whole race, but when I got next to him, I tried to give him enough room to make sure we stayed clean.
Well, some good battling that you definitely showed, and now your championship lead is going to jump up. You've got 30 points now in terms of a margin right up at the very top. So from 30 points up at the top, do you feel like you're going to be in a position now, one race in the back pocket, maybe you can start looking at trying to close out potentially to the championship?
Hopefully, we'll see. Obviously, there's 3 races still to go. Nothing's guaranteed, but I feel like if I continue on the form I've had the first 3 races, there's definitely a good chance.
There's definitely going to be a fantastic chance of that. So, Philip, a big victory, 3rd in a row. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Just a big thanks to HM Engineering for having me and helping me do this every week, really. Without them, I probably wouldn't be here.
Well, Philip Kraus then, a big victory, 3 in a row. And it was some fantastic work that came along. We do apologise for some of the audio issues that we just had there, ladies and gentlemen, but we've hopefully got them fixed as Sam Carpenter came home in 2nd position and joins me right now. Sam, that must be a really frustrating race, having pole position, having to really fight hard, being tucked up underneath for the majority of that race behind Phil, and ultimately just not being able to find the move when it mattered.
Yeah, it was... The pole was a surprise, really. Hadn't really done too many laps before today. In fact, I only purchased the Imola track today. But yeah, the pole was very much a surprise. And I knew that with that big long straight, if somebody was within 3-4 tenths race pace wise, I'd be able to stick on the back. And I tend to take a little bit longer to sort of get up to my race pace and get in a comfortable sort of window in the race anyway. So I wasn't too surprised when Phil came past, and I do like chasing as well. It was just a matter of trying to get on the inside for turn 1. I always found myself on the outside, and you're just going to get pinched for turn 2 after that. So it was, I had a nice straight line speed advantage with the slipstream, but just couldn't do anything with it.
Well, it was always going to be a tough little battle, but ultimately it was one that didn't quite pay off for you. But in terms of how that track really has been all about mistakes and who made the least mistakes, there was one chance that you had with Kraus making a mistake coming out of the 2nd rFactor. Was that maybe the chance that you had a little sniff of picking up that victory, knowing as well at the fact that maybe momentum would have been key to try and break the streak of back-to-back race victories, knowing that you need to stay within maybe 1 race wins distance?
Yeah, I just the thing with going for the moves into turn 1 was too much of a risk if you wanted to if you're only side by side into turn 1, trying to then get more of an advantage as you actually go around the corner. It's never going to work. You have to be ahead really and have your front axle ahead of their front axle as you actually go into the corner, and it's easier to do that on the inside, which he always found himself on. But yeah, even if I'd got ahead, I feel like because we had very similar setups, because he had the straight line speed advantage on me when he was behind me, and I had it on him when I was behind him. So it's just the slipstream was very effective, and I still think he would have stayed right behind and at least come at me for another attempt of an overtake if he was behind me. But yeah, it's just calculated risks, and a lot of the time I just had to pull out of the committing to the overtake.
Do you feel like the story is going to be the same in 1 week's time at Zandvoort, or do you think that you're going to potentially have a little bit of an increase in pace or maybe an increase in consistency to put that result up on the table?
Well, I think me and Phil are very similar drivers. If it's us two again, I don't know. There could be people out there that are a lot better at Zandvoort, but I think it's a bit of an unknown for everybody, really. And I just hope that if we do end up battling next time, that some more opportunities present themselves.
Well, the floor is yours, Sam. Shout out sponsors. Anyone you'd like to thank for your 2nd place finish?
Thrustmaster, obviously. I know they're sponsors of WPR, who run the whole Griiip thing. Had a full setup with them now for about 4 years, and couldn't really ask for better.
Sam Carpenter then coming home in 2nd position overall. But stay with us here on World Pro Racing, of course, on the ESR 24/7 network and on ESPN as well, because your Griiip G1 2020 Virtual Series presented by Fiverr is coming back with the pro event after this. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Want to quit your day job? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
This is bad. Wait, let's just do it ourselves.
It is not fear that grips him, only restlessness, a heightened sense of things. The smell of engine and sweat, the engine rattling his blood, the crowd roaring. The race is about to start. He breathes deeply to focus. In this league, he finally found what he was looking for. A true passion.
Sono Massimo Paganini e per anni ho cercato una macchina che mi desse gioia, adrenalina nella guida e finalmente l'ho trovata nella G1 Series. Se anche tu vuoi provare una macchina che ti dia gioia e adrenalina, G1 Series 2020.
So, you think you got what it takes to race in the G1 Series? Can you keep your concentration? Even in the most stressed situations, can you keep pushing even when things go wrong? Can you master different environments? Can you adapt immediately to different conditions? Can you keep learning? Learning from your opponents, learning from your mistakes, learning from everyone, anytime, anywhere, until you reach your goal and become the best you can. Think you got what it takes to race in the 2020 G1 Series? Then fill in the form now.
Want real followers? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your Griiip G1 Virtual Series 2020. It is time for the pros to take to the circuit. This series is presented by Fiverr, hashtag making it work, as we get ourselves some brilliant work happening over the course of this race. 5,000 euros on offing here for this series, and 5,000 euros split between the top 7 drivers out on this series. 2,500 euros for the overall championship win, 1,000 for second, following it down, 750, 400, 200, 150 euros. That's a nice little gift there for a 7th place finish overall. This is round 3 of 6, and the next 3 rounds happen in the next 3 consecutive weeks after this, of course, where we head to what is a fantastic Zandvoort circuit. Following on from that, the Circuit d'Azur, as we head to the city streets of Monaco, and then finishing off the racing action that we've got here today, for the season, I should say, is the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. So, drivers will be looking to try and get themselves ready. Drivers will be looking to try and make sure that they are best place in the championship. And it is a very interesting championship at that. It's Erhan Yayovski up at the top of the timing stands, up at the top of the championship, with a second at Adria and a first at Silverstone. But the crucial fact is he's got 15 points over his 2 nearest rivals, one of whom is his teammate at R8G, and that is Risto Capit. The other one is the burst driver, Jerne Simoncic. So that's going to be a crucial battleground. 15 points only the margin. That is not many positions over the course of racing. You look further down behind that, though, you got Petr Briliak and Dennis Jordan tied in 4th and 5th with equal results each, and Davin Mrozek there in 6th place in the championship on 30 points. Beyond that, Alexander Dorneden quietly in 7th overall in the championship. He's tied on points with Michi Hoyer, and then you got likes of Alex Siebel with the non-finish last round out, dropping down to 9th position. Jesper Eriksson rounds out the top 10 overall in the season. But what is very crucial about this championship has been drivers who are at the top have traditionally managed to stay in that sort of position. We haven't seen too many drivers who have been able to really convert, really change a gear over this series. Having so many quick races back to back, it is so tough to try and find an increase in your pace, an increase on your position. If you find something in one event, that is going to propel you massively over the course of the rest of the season. And I think a lot of these drivers want to go out there and prove that they have what it takes over the course of this entire season. But every driver's got to be absolutely on it straight away around this track. It is an incredibly difficult track to get racing correct on. Risto Capit is currently the quickest on a 1:33.7 and is 1.4 seconds quicker at this moment in time in practice at this moment. So that's going to be key in terms of the way that the battles will go on. But there are drivers who are looking to try and find a bit more. There's the Williams driver car, who is in 12th position classified at this moment. That's Petr Briliak, who will be looking to try and jump up through the orders here in this practice going on at the moment, as Briliak comes across the line and will actually go nowhere, as he actually was on an outlap or found an incident. So these drivers, they'll have 10 more minutes than to what they had earlier on in the season. But on top of those 10 minutes extra that they've got to fight with, they know that margins are going to be tight. And of course, Risto Capit, who arguably has been the star of the racing so far this season, it's all about fuel sometimes. It's all about tyre saving in this car. And I think a lot of drivers will be looking at it going, well, Imola shouldn't really be too difficult in terms of a circuit. It's not flat out all the time. There's a lot of difficult sections of road which really do require you to lift off that accelerator pedal. They should be fine. in quotations, knock on a little bit of wood with their fuel. So Capit at the moment, someone who has led both events and is yet to find a race victory, is arguably due one at this moment in time as the Estonian, as his teammate is just less than a tenth of a second behind at this moment in time. It could be that we find ourselves in a really interesting scrap between now and the end of the season. It is worth noting in terms of drivers to go through. Alexander Dornaden currently in 3rd place overall. You look at some big names. Alessandro Ottaviani there in 5th. With Gioacchino Viglione, Gio there in 6th position. Jesper Eriksson now up into 4th place. But there are drivers here who have yet to set times over the course of practice. And in fact, I do find myself corrected. Petr Briliak does move now up into 4th position, like some Michi Hoyer, Alex Siebel, Kakamagno, drivers who have yet to set any representative times. But as far as things stands, looking at the board, there is one name who is very much missing at this point in time, and it was something that I was a little bit worried about coming into this event, and it is the lack of a Jerne Simoncic. Now, a lot of these drivers who have been looking for big results have seen an absolutely massive series come up in the books. Of course, Le Mans is going virtual for the first time ever, and so many drivers, so many amazing drivers have got their opportunity alongside pros and giving absolutely everything that they've got. I've seen brilliant teams crop up. There's an all-women's team which holds the likes of Jamie Chadwick, I believe, and Emily Jones, and so many great sim racers and real-world racers and all the rest of it. But there is that worry that Jerne Simoncic, who openly admits he doesn't have much time when it comes to practice. He's got his job back after all of the issues surrounding 2020 modern life. He will be someone who will be hoping that his results ultimately don't take too much of a hit from this one, as he'll be looking at the bigger picture, which should be making sure that every result is going to be working out. So we'll see how this one all plays out for it, but for the time being, top two, Hanyayoski, Risto Capit, can't really argue too much against those two at the top at this moment in time. 4 tenths clear of Dennis Jordan. Alexander Dornaden, they're in 4th position at the moment overall, and I believe I did spy a Jesper Eriksson in the wall coming through Villeneuve corner right at the end of practice then, so that wouldn't have been too helpful as they try to maneuver away on forward through the practice. But ultimately, Yujovski tops the timing stands as the driver who needed to the most, some would argue, to try and prove that over 1 lap he is the quickest. He hasn't had that ability to say that over the course of the season. Risto Capit has been fantastic when it has come to qualifying so far, so we could see maybe more of the same, maybe a couple of differences over the course of this race here at Imola. And of course, in 1 week's time, there is a whole host of things that will be going on, and of course that's going to be a tough one when it comes to Zandvoort. The mad scramble down the lane. They're 3 wide actually in places down on the lane, trying to find improvements. They're looking at pretty much trying to switch to the lanes and hoping, okay, can I just flick my way over alongside as I come out of the pits, waiting for the green light, which drops now, and 10 minutes of qualifying starts about now. Everybody behind Petr Briliak, who will be the first driver then to set off and get things going. Everybody falling into line, and will need track position. It's always a scramble to get out of the pits. They get given about 20 seconds or so to get down to the end of the lane before they get going, and you really want a draft partner as they head through the left and then in through the right that come along. You can see mistakes. Some drives, though, we have seen times really fluctuate over the AM category race, and this pro race could be very much the same as they fight for the 5,000, which is put up on the offing from Fiverr out on track. So, who has what it takes here in this series to really put their stamp, their name of authority down, as all of these drivers look to try and make their way through, navigate the back half of the circuit, down that hill at the Enzo Edino Ferrari course, and move up once again out of Acqua Minerale and up the hill again. So drivers really actually going for it. I've seen a couple of side-by-side actually in early stages. So that's not going to be helpful for a couple of people as they look to try and go out there and really attack in terms of the times. They know what they need, and what they need is a good result. So we'll see who gets it. Let's go on board for a lap, though, with Petr Briliak, who will be the first driver across and trying to make some progress. So over the straight, and it's a long run to the line. They don't use the start-finish line. They use the start line, not the finish line. It's the overall start-finish line here, and it's through the small left kink of 1 on the brakes into turn 2, carrying a lot of momentum through that corner. You really got a lot of grip here in these vehicles. That's why they're called Griips, so to speak. Now towards 3 and 4, and just trying to carry as much as possible here, slowing all the time. So easy to run wide through Villeneuve's chicane and on the brakes into Toza, really trying to attack up the hill, use all of the torque available to get back on the power and up again. Another little rise follows the first, and now into the left as one vehicle's going to go straight on in the background behind Petr Briliak through Piratella. Comes along this next move, nice and neat there, just a couple of tyres over the white lines, not really extending too much, uses all of the road for Acqua Minerale. You have to hit the brakes late through that section and almost braking stages through that bit. You can't afford to spin down at that corner. Now to the Variante Alta. This place, this corner used to be a lot tighter, a lot more ferocious, a lot more high speed. It very much isn't anymore, but these vehicles can certainly take a fair run at it. And the Williams Esports team driver now looking to try and push and trying to look forward, especially with a lot of doubt over Williams at this point in time, with the fact they've lost their title sponsor and they could be selling the team on. But Williams Esports still alive, still strong, still kicking, still doing absolutely fantastically. Over the line comes Briliak to set the first time, and he will set a 33.9 as the benchmark. So that's going to be a key little foray that we're going to see. The two RHG cars side by, or nose to tail, as they make a way through. Hoyer goes second on 34.7. Yayovsky jumps ahead by a tenth and a half on Petr Briliak there. Capit there in third, and Hoyer now fourth. Yes, but Ericsson goes fifth on a not brilliant lap. Kasdorp just trying to get his first lap in. He's 16 seconds off of the pace right now. That's a little bit surprising. That's probably not a representative flying lap if ever I saw one. So here comes the likes of Alexander Dorneden up to second on a 33.940. So Alexander Dorneden came to play. It's not going to be all plain sailing for RHG. They're going to have to work hard. Likes of Birikov up to 11th. Paul August Lana drops down to 11th there, with Alex Siebel now in 10th. Luca D'Amelio goes 9th. Dean Vella goes 7th. Cosimo Papi there in 6th position now. Great time from the Clash driver. Clash with a Q, which is always going to be very tough to say with a Clash. But ultimately, Cosimo Papi up into 6th place. That's a great time from Cosimo, who's been a perennial runner inside of the top 50, or just outside the top 15, I should say. So every time now becomes crucial. Yayovsky, Dorneden, Briliak, Capit, Hoyer, your top 5 at the moment, but a lot of drivers have not set a lap time. A lot of the Italians, Ottaviani, Viglione, Biancalillia, all have not set times. Diego Ramos yet to set a time, as has Jason Muscat, and crucially, Dennis Jordan, who will be looking for a huge lap here around this place, and he knows better than anybody else, does Dennis Jordan, that he's got to get his Evolution Motorsports car absolutely moving here out on track here today. But Yayovsky has gone even quicker. He has gone fantastically quicker. It is 0.3 quicker. You could say it was a whole year quicker, with a 0.365 margin over Alexander Dorneden. Briliak currently in 3rd, Capit in 4th, Siebel in 5th now, with Jesper Eriksson also jumping up ahead now into 6th place. Ottaviani goes 8th, and suddenly Papi, who was 6th, is now 10th out on track. Viglione's 12th, Kasdorp down in 13th place. Again, struggling here today is Yuri Kasdorp, but ultimately, it's all about times. Here comes Dorneden over the line in the Veloce Esports team, and over he goes. Is there improvement? No, there is not. That was an outlap that he was on. So he'll go onto a flyer and try and find just a little bit more. Already, 6 of the 10 minutes have gone through. As in terms of Griiip drivers, Cosimo Papi doing well. Ottaviani, though, I believe, is best of the lot at the moment from that perspective here. So Alessandro Ottaviani, 8th position right now, a mixture of virtual and pro here in your Griiip G1 series, and it is Alessandro Ottaviani who finds himself in the best place position, currently in 8th overall here in this one. But for the time being, every time becomes vital. Every lap now needs to be pretty much worked on. Those tyres need to be absolutely heated up to temperature perfectly and then attacked to their very, very limit as they hit the brakes. Or Capit hits the brakes through rFactor 1, through rFactor 2. We'll probably get a bit of help from teammate Erhan in front, the North Macedon. So we'll see what Capit the Estonian is able to do here in terms of a lap. Hoyer hits the pitch. Jason Muscat up to 7th. And there goes Dennis Jordan up into 4th place on the 34 flat. He bumps Capit down. He'll be going on to a flying lap now. All of a sudden, it's, I don't know which way you look. It's Yovsky in front, but this could be a who's who for 2nd position onwards here, because you've got currently 5 drivers within 2.5 tenths of a second. Dornaden needs some improvement. He does find it, but he's only improved by 0.5 tenth to a 33.886 out on track. So now Alexander Dornaden only 3 tenths behind, but those are a tough 3 tenths to chase down Erhan Yovsky, who'll be wanting to go back to back here in this series. So now what do you do? Where is that last lap going to come from? The likes of Ottaviani now 10th, Cosimo Papi 11th, Dean Vella now 12th position overall. Kirill Birakov has struggled over the course of qualifying, and a handful of drivers have yet to set times like a Diego Ramos and Manuel Biancalilia yet to get those times. Mateo Stumpf in incredibly late to try and get a race in, so he will not have a qualifying lap. Mateo Stumpf will definitely start down at the back of the pack, but 1 minute 34 seconds remaining. 1 lap to get everything working. Briliak and Jordan and Capit and Siebel, like Jesper Eriksson, will be trying to make some pushes. Yovsky would like a little bit more of a buffer. 3 tenths is a lot, but could it be even more? Jordan goes to 2nd. Oh, by not much. 18 thousandths he was short by. Yovsky doesn't improve on time. Risto Capit goes 5th ahead of Alex Siebel. But ultimately now, every time becomes key. The Evolution drivers have exactly what they want. They've got great pace here today. Alexander Dornaden out there on a lap. Yovsky on a lap. Briliak on a lap at this moment. 50 seconds to go. What does the likes of Petr Briliak have? Capit will not improve from 5th place. Cosimo Papi has gone 9th. He will not improve from 9th. Vianney jumps to 10th over with that lap time. That was a good lap going through. So Dennis Jordan, Alexander Dornaden, Petr Briliak, Alex Siebel, all of fine times. Diego Ramos moves up to 12th position all of a sudden. Here comes Dornaden. Yovsky will not improve from a 33.5. That's key. Dornaden had a wiggle, though, through the first rFactor. Through the second rFactor, he uses all the curb absolutely nicely. Push the line. He should have 1 more after this. It's a long drag to the start-finish line. 10 seconds left on the clock. He should get 1 more in. So here's Dornaden over the line, and he will now go and start his final lap, his final opportunity. Briliak is on that final opportunity, as is Dennis Jordan. Time expires for him, though, and he will be out of time to get it going. But is he going to be maybe trying to help Alex Siebel with the draft, who is in 6th position, 6 tenths off? That might be where Dennis Jordan looks, who cannot improve from 2nd position. Front row best only. Briliak's giving absolutely everything right now, coming down the hill. Muscat 8th, Papi 9th. Hoyer is down in 11th place. Will have a long race if he is to get what he wants out of this event. He's 1.2 off a pole position right now, but Briliak all of a sudden looking racy through the chicane. All of the curb used and a bit more as he gets air through both corners, trying to make sure it all pays off. Briliak is trying to storm through through this section right now and knows that everything needs to be on the line. 33.900, his fastest time. Wiggle as he goes through rFactor, and all of a sudden this lap might not work. A car spun in the background though, that won't help. But Brilliac's going for the line. Brilliac thinks he's got improvement. Brilliac, can he find what he's got to get himself up a position? He needs just 15 thousandths to jump, and he doesn't. He doesn't. A 33.969, not good enough. Here's Alex Siebel making the push to the line. Dornaden did not improve, but Siebel over the line does not improve either. He couldn't find anything at all there in the final stages. Pappy spins, and now Yoyoski will have pole. Jordan from Dornaden, Brilliant Capit Siebel, Ericsson, Muscat, Pappy, and Ottaviani. That's your top 10, as we need to pay some bills here with World Pro Racing, and we'll be back with the race after this. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Want to quit your day job? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
This is bad. Wait, let's just do it ourselves.
It is not fear that grips him, only restlessness, a heightened sense of things. The smell of engine and sweat, the engine rattling his blood, the crowd roaring. The race is about to start. He breathes deeply to focus. In this league, he finally found what he was looking for. A true passion.
Massimo Paganini e per anni ho cercato una macchina che mi desse gioia, adrenalina nella guida e finalmente l'ho trovata nella G1 Series. Se anche tu vuoi provare una macchina che ti dia gioia e adrenalina, G1 Series 2020.
So, you think you got what it takes to race in the G1 Series? Can you keep your concentration? Even in the most stressed situations, can you keep pushing even when things go wrong? Can you master different environments? Can you adapt immediately to different conditions? Can you keep learning? Learning from your opponents, learning from your mistakes, learning from everyone, anytime, anywhere, until you reach your goal and become the best you can. Think you got what it takes to race in the 2020 G1 Series? Then fill in the form now.
Want real followers? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your Griiip G1 Virtual 2020 Series, presented by Fiverr. Hashtag making it work. Moments away from racing action here in the Pro Division. 30 minutes here of Imola. It was a very tough battle in the AM category championship. It was a very tough battle here in qualifying. It very nearly became an upset, but ultimately it was once more Roman Grosjean's team, the R8G team, with Erhan Yayovsky putting himself up at the top of the timing stand exactly when needed. Now, this is going to be a tall order race because a lot of drivers have a lot of things to prove, and I think this is going to be all about who is able to pick up what is needed over 6 weeks. It's so easy for something to go wrong in an event like this, in a field like this, where one small mistake could cost you a number of positions, especially at the start of the race, which we saw it was nice and clean in the AM category event. We didn't see too many dramas, but in the Pro Division, if drivers want it that bit more, know that they have to make the decisive move even quicker, they may just find themselves in a bit of trouble early on. That start becomes so crucial, especially when you've got that big advantage on the inside and you can immediately cut off that driver on the right-hand side of the circuit. It's going to be a very interesting race. I'm pretty sure I do not know who's going to win this one, and it may just come down to who is the best on the tyres, who maybe even is the best at saving fuel around this place today because of what happened at Silverstone. So, this is going to be a tall order for a few drivers, but one driver's got to keep that gap over 15 points and over towards 20, 25, 30 points. That's Erhan Yayovsky. Nearest rival, his own teammate, Risto Capit. Not known as an overtaker is Risto Capit. He's someone who uses his tyres up hard early and then looks to try and maintain a race from there. So Capit could make positions quickly, but then he may have to play the defensive game, and that's going to be the worry. Needing Erhan Yayovsky to run into troubles, and that has been few and far between as far as this season's gone, but would be relying on that nature of Erhan Yayovsky as a driver who can be uber aggressive around places. So that's going to be always very tough. So now this is going to be a key scrap, a key battle that we are going to be seeing. This is going to be interesting. Who's going to be in the best place now to go out there and pick up the win. A win is not a guarantee. Pole position is not a guarantee for a race win. It gives you the best possible chance of victory, starting from the very, very front. But sometimes starting from the front is not conducive to the overall, which a lot of drivers will be looking at trying to target here today. No mandatory pit stops are required in terms of having to serve a stop, but drivers may need to over the course of the race. That could be something to keep in mind. Petr Briliak, for example, needing to kickstart the season, get back into range. Alex Siebel's been very consistent. Alexander Dornadon has not found the results that he wanted. He's had a great qualifying in the Veloce car and will be looking to try and move up through the order and gain positions. You've got the likes of Paul August Lana looking for something. And then you've got those pro drivers, the likes of Viglione, the likes of Ottaviani. Cosimo Papi had a great qualifying here at Imola today, looking for a bit more potentially in this race, looking to try and kickstart a season. Remember, they are fighting for a top 7 overall, €50 on the line for that 7th place finish in the championship. Right now it's a tie between Dornadon and Hoyer, and with no Jurnej Simončić, a chance, or Davin Rojek for that point as well, a chance to close points, a chance to gain places in the championship. Every point matters up and down the order of a very, very closely fought championship. So we'll see who gets themselves into the best possible position for this event and who gets themselves going. Warm-up is scored, complete, and now drivers will be hoping that they get themselves the best possible result out of this event. So the starting grid will come up in a few moments' time. We expect one pace lap around the track before they all line up, a formation lap, so to speak. But it will be Erhan Yayovski on pole position, joined alongside by Evolution's Dennis Jordan. There's Alexander Dornadon for Veloce Esports. Williams Esports, Petr Briliak starts 4th. Risto Capit and Alex Siebels go 5th and 6th, with Jesper Eriksson 7th and Jason Muscat in 8th place. Cosimo Papi starts 9th, and it's Alessandro Ottaviani who rounds out the top 10. You look further down, like some Michi Hoyer down 11th. Viglione is 13th. There's going to be a whole heap of things going on as the pace lap goes in. Diego Ramos there, we said, in 12th. Luca D'Amelio going from 14th. Then you got Dean Vela, Kirill Birakov 15th, 16th. Then you got Kasdorp and Paul August Lana 17th and 18th. Kasdorp has not had a finish so far this season. Then there's Cacamagno in 19th, not taking to the grid. We'll start from pit lane with the likes of Manuel Biancaliglia and Mateusz Stumpf 21st and 22nd. Yuri Kasdorp will also start this race from pit lane. So this is going to be an interesting battle here today. All these drivers want those points, and it's all about now this formation lap, because those tyres need to keep at an operating window, and this is a very slow outlap pace we are seeing from Erhan Yayovski here. Drivers will be looking at maybe weaving, getting a little bit of rubber in the tyres, but a lot of the pros will say that's not really going to do enough. By the time that we've put all that heat into the tyres and we sit on the grid, that's all going to go away again, and that's not exactly what those drivers want. So that could be something that just keeps in mind, as like Cacamagno does get out onto circuit. A lot of these drivers with a lot of gaps may have to wait an incredibly long time with the engine overheating and the tyres starting to play a factor. They can't afford to run into too many issues here today. We could see so many troubles come up, so many pitfalls of this circuit, from drivers battling alongside each other to the engine issues that really affected drivers like Sartori in the opening race. But you've also got these drivers here like Dennis Jordan, who really wants to prove that they can pick up a race victory that can challenge the establishment of Dornadon and Yayovski and Briliak and Capit, who have been around for forever and a year when it has come to rFactor 2 and have proven themselves time and time again to be the top of the top. The top of the pops, some would say, as they head up the hill towards the Variante Alta. And this is a really, really interesting thing right now. There are even 3 wide in places here on this formation lap. The likes of Dean Vella there, Paul Auguslana, Kakamagno, just finding some space. She is trying to gain some places. So I think a lot of drivers will be hoping that they find their grid stall without too many issues. And once they have dealt with all of those issues, they've got themselves a good run. It's almost like they're planning for a proper start here because they're going too wide, trying to get themselves going. So Yayovsky playing the mind games here on the formation lap, just really running it slow, making sure that everybody knows that he's the race leader. The North Macedon has control of this field and will do so comfortably. There's Jordan, there's Alexander Dornadon there in the Veloce car. You got Briliak, you got Capit, Alex Siebel, Jesper Eriksson. There is Jason Muscat in the Multiforce car in 8th position on the road. This is going to be a very interesting 30 minutes worth of racing, and it is here live and uninterrupted for all 30 minutes when it comes to this racing. Welcome all of you viewers on the ESR 24/7 network. Welcome all of you on ESPN. Welcome all of you on YouTube, on Facebook Live, on Twitch, who are seeing some brilliant racing action that's going to be going on here today. This is going to be a very, very tough battle out on track. You've also got the faces of all your favourites here today. You'll see how much they'll be pushing. You'll see how much they will be battling here today. And it's going to be a very tall order here for drivers to try and get what they want. Yayovsky will just ease towards his grid slot, making sure he's backing up the field as much as possible. This has been a crawl of a pace lap here today, as Erhan Yayovsky has really made sure that nobody is going to have any heat in their tyres to try and go out and battle with. Drivers now just finding their grid stalls. You've seen drivers just gaining positions one on another and looking to line up all nice and neatly. The last few drivers then, like Mateusz Stumpf and Manuel Biancalilia, will find their grid stalls. Now drivers will be looking to get ready. Now the engine notes will start to rise. A bit of smoke in the background then. Let's get ourselves 30 minutes up on the clock. This is going to be a big race here today. Kasdorp will start from pit lane, but everybody else will have a strong battle in the offing. Who's got what it takes to win round 3 here of your Griiip G1 Virtual Series? This is going to be what all of these drivers will be hoping for. Long wait. Long wait on the lights. Finally, the procedure starts. Let's get ourselves ready. And it's a long wait and a go, and it's a great start there from Erhan Yayovsky. Dornadon got a shocker going through there. 3 wide here as they go for second, and that's Capit, who's got an absolute monster as they go through. 3 wide, 4 wide in the background as they head in towards turn 1. Are we all clean? No, that's Eriksson, I believe that is, in trouble there as Diego Ramos gets a bit of contact going through the opening stages there. Yayovsky's clear. Capit is already up to second. Dornadon third, and Jordan all the way back now into 4th position. 2 wide as they go through into the Villeneuve chicane. The likes of Diego Ramos trying to go around the outside. Huge wiggle from Viglione and co as they go on through. On the brakes into the opening corners of Toza. And right now, spinner up, over goes Ramos, and that was not good at all. Diego Ramos goes up and over, and I believe Biancalili is in the wall as well. A big incident then to start the racing, a big incident as they get themselves going, but Yayovsky had none of the troubles then on the opening lap then of this race. He's got the lead. Capit second, Dornadon third, and on backwards they go on, and look, some big gainers in this one from the early stages. The likes, of course, of Giacchino Viglione already up into 8th place, has had a storming start and already looking on the back of Jason Muscat for the moment. Jordan trying to find a way through on Dornadon down at the left-hand corner. That one is Ravazza and not quite close enough. So Jesper Eriksson caught out. 3 drivers out immediately. One of them is Yuri Kasdorp. One of the others is Manuel Biancalilia in the early goings. But once again, 1-2 R8G. And that is exactly what they wanted here off of their start. Dornadon third, Jordan fourth, Briliak fifth, Siebel sixth. And for 7th, Jason Muscat's lost the place to Giacchino Viglione. So now that is the Clash car up into 7th place overall. Some brilliant work, but they've already lost 4 seconds to the cars in front. Ramos into pit, Kakamagno into pit, Dean Vella into pit after a hectic lap 1 in the mid-pack. The front of the field, though, have had it pretty nicely. 1 second already for Erhan at the front, but Alexander Dornaden is the driver under the microscope at this moment in time. He's got mirrors full of Dennis Jordan, but starting to try and pull out a little bit of a gap at the moment. Just a little one, just enough to get the margin that's needed to keep going here in this race and doing exactly what is needed. Briliak as well. He's not under too much stress at the moment, but will be soon, because there's Alex Siebel, the second of the Evolution cars, trying to maybe go one up and gets an absolutely great run, actually, coming out of the Variante Alta. This is going to be a move around the outside to try and get this one done. Briliak defends it on the inside, but has he run it too deep? He has, but he's managed to hold it up nicely. Petter Briliak there with the best brakes in all of Italy, holding it up there and finishing up staying in 5th place for the moment. Ideal then. Off the start, Alex Siebel will have to find another way, and he will try at turn 2 here at Tamburello to get this one done. Long way round looking to try and get this one done, but again, Briliak good on the defense. No chance of a position gain to move on up through the order. So they stay where they are, side by side though, as the likes here, Kirill Birakov and Paul August Lana side by side, and it's Birakov who gets himself ahead of Lana out on track. That's ideal, but there's Jesper Eriksson trying to recover here as he tries to find a way through. There's no room at the end. Lana's gone very aggressive through contact between them, but ultimately there, that is Jesper Eriksson finding the move then, and up into 15th, could soon very quickly be 14th place then out on track the longer that this race does go on. So first few laps already scored in the books, and a very aggressive start to the race it has been. Birakov, though, look at how much Eriksson, Eriksson, yes, but Eriksson has saved it. Giacchino Viglioni's gone around as well at the same time. So what's happened to Giacchino here? We've seen Eriksson have a huge slide, drop back behind Paul August Lana, but Giacchino, through Acque Minerale, on the brakes, has he slowed it up? He gets himself through, yes he has, but he's not been able to turn it, and he's had a huge accident into the tyres. The front wing's been ripped off of his Clash car, and ultimately now he is going to have to come in for a brand new wing out on circuit. He knows what's happened here. He needs a little bit of help. He will dive down onto the lane, or will he get blocked? He's trying to come down in on the lane. Matthias Stump finally gets the notice there as he deals with just about enough, and that is positioned pretty much as it was at the moment. Look at Dennis Jordan though, all of a sudden in 4th position. He is desperate to find a way through, an Alexander Dornaden for the podium. And Adria, it was the same story for Jordan, stuck in 4th, can't find a way through. Now it's the same story once again here in Imola, stuck in 4th, can't find a way through. Luca D'Amelio and Michi Hoyer going at it at the moment, and in fact that is Michi Hoyer struggling coming out of Villeneuve corner. So the number 92 Burst Esports machine car, what has happened here? He was just ahead of Jason Muscat heading through the left and into the right, and all the rears just stepped away, and that was always the worry, missing the apex, stepping away. Very nearly collected. Luca D'Amelio, Ottaviani found a way through now up into ninth. So Alessandra Ottaviani moving up place now, and all of a sudden Michi Hoyer's found out, oh wait, I'm in a race, and I'm in a big race at this moment in time then, as we are already 1/5 of the way through when it comes to this event. They've been battling hard in the early goings. Briliak still holding off Alex Siebel there in 6th place as Viglioni comes down in onto the lane, makes a stop, and the vehicle is smoking as he looks to try and get himself going there. I believe he's on the limiter, but he'll get himself out and away, but the smoke does not stop. So I think the engine's about to expire right in the face then of the battle going on side by side. So Gio just about gets the car working nicely once again. Here's a change of position though. Muscat's dropped behind one driver, that's Luca D'Amelio, and Ottaviani side by side with Michi Hoyer. Hoyer comfortably down the inside, picking up the place then, and goes back into 9th place, but crucially could not get the move done there. Alex Siebel and Petr Briliak would feel like that opportunity, there was nothing he could do about that. The traffic played a part only a little one, though. Dennis Jordan, look at this, tucked up underneath then. They've already lost 2.5 seconds to Risto Capit, who he himself has lost 2 seconds to Erhan Yayovsky at the front of the field. On the brakes, up the hill from Acque Minerale towards the Variante Alta, and Dennis Jordan is waiting for a chance to get the move, or he's playing that other game, that I need fuel, I'm going to save strategy, which could equally play itself a pivot into the way this race is going to be run. But now it's all about waiting. Is there a run here into the next section? It's going to move to the outside line to try and get this one done. Dornadon lays on the brakes. That was a lift there from Dennis Jordan. He did not want to make the move through that corner. He may have a chance here into turn number 2, Tamburello, and get this one done. Briliac runs wide in the background, and Alex Siebel now may have a chance as well in terms of trying to find one way through to get up another position. Then in this race, look at Briliac all of a sudden under pressure. Jordan around the outside has got the move done on Dornadon. It's turn 1. Is it the save for Alex Siebel? They've hit the trigger switch and it's going to be hard fought, but Briliac's just dumped out to the outside with Siebel straight through, using all of his kart control nuances to get that one done. So both Evolution cars make moves then here on this 6th lap of the race. Dennis Jordan now on a podium, and now has to work hard because Alexander Dornadon in the Veloce car will be desperately trying to find a way back in this race. Yayovsky leads, Capit in 2nd, 3rd is Jordan, Dornadon 4th, Siebel 5th, Briliac 6th, and now Luca D'Amelio will be under pressure in 7th from Muscat, and now Michi Hoyer trying to find a way through. He's got a great run up to Piratella. Don't often see them here, and Michi down the inside has got the move, all signed, sealed and delivered, and says, well, I'm yours. That's a great move there from Michi Hoyer. He's up now into 8th place and can chase down Luca D'Amelio. The issue is, where does he go from D'Amelio? Because he's already now finding himself 11 seconds back of Petr Briliac out on track. So it's going to be a long road to recovery from this point onwards. You've got also a battle 16th and 17th, which is a few seconds apart. Diego Ramos and Dean Vella battling as the cars who came down into the pits. And Dornadon spun! Final corner, Alexander Dornadon has gone around, and he's gone around, I think, all of his own accord. So here he goes, 4th position, slighted through the first corner. The tyres will be heated up from that, and then coming out, he just tags the gravel, and oh, he's gone up and over. Oh my goodness me, he went up and he went over. I have never seen that in a sim race ever. There was no reason for that car to go up and over, no contact. And Alexander Dornadon has had an almighty moment there, and that's going to promote everybody up the order. And that was massive. And there's been a mistake for Michi Hoyer as well, down at Tamburello, through all of that that's gone on. Cosimo Papi has jumped to 8th, Ottaviani up to 7th. They were battling side by side, going on through, and then ultimately it was a case of, oh, the door wasn't quite there. It was shut quite firmly on Michi Hoyer, and now the stewards will have a lot of work to do as Hoyer now fights Kirill Birakov for 12th place out on the road. So a huge moment going on then, and the stewards will have a lot to look at. Alexander Dornadon is out, as is Giacchino Viglione from this race. So they all drop down. Birakov still fighting Hoyer now, hard for this place as Paul August Lana watches on in a bit of amusement. Oh, contact once, and oh, Lana's going to dive for it, and there's contact between them again, and Lana goes for a half spin, and they remain side by side as they battle through. Maybe the stewards might have a look at that one as well. Mateusz Stumpf now inside the top 10, but he'll suddenly be under pressure from the TX3 man. That's Jesper Eriksson who will be trying to get that position. TX3 have lost a lot of drivers over their last weeks with the R8G steal, some would say, so he'll be looking to try and find a bit more. Plain sailing, though, at the front of the field. So right now, it's going to be all about who's got what. Yayovsky, Capit, Jordan, Siebel. It's pretty much R8G followed by Evolution, but all of a sudden, Briliac closes right up after a poor sector from Alex Siebel there. That opening sector did not look good. And all of a sudden, Alex Siebel now in a fight once again for 4th place. Lana around the outside of Kirill Birakov. He gets 13th. All signed and sealed in a nice, neat bow. Jason Muscat in the Multiforce car trying to have a battle here with Cosimo Papi here for 8th position out on the road, but Pappy holding a margin, a good margin at this moment, with D'Amelio in 6th and Ottaviani there in 7th position at the moment. Half distance will be scored complete in the next 2 laps or so at this moment, with a big, bold margin for Yoski of 3 seconds to work with over his own teammate, Risto Capit. The ideal scenario for R8G, a 1-2 again, or trying to get the first 1-2 of the season on track would be absolutely marvellous for them overall. Still though, Alex Siebel under pressure from Briliak, and then you got this battle going on behind. Look at Jesper Eriksson on Mateusz Stumpf. Mateusz Stumpf now has to leave the door wide open here as they come down the hill, looking towards the first of the 2 Ravatsas. And I'd always want a villa down at Ravatsa corner. It would be absolutely lovely to have a bird's eye view of these vehicles going around the track, but ultimately nothing doing there for Jesper Eriksson, but he may have another chance later on in the lap, and it comes right now, moving to the outside to try and get this move done. You can see very nicely there, 2 wide they go, inside line for Eriksson. He's having absolutely none of Mateusz Stumpf, and he takes his top 10 to boot as well in towards the Tamburello chicanes as he goes on through. Caught a little bit though of the anti-cut curve, but he was able to deal with just enough to not really put himself in too many stages of worry over the course of the race. But crucially enough though, it is now about who does what, who says what, who can get what in terms of positions. It may just be that a lot of these sim races, a lot of these real world races are fighting for that 1 position more then in this race. No more so than Jesper Eriksson and Mishi Hoyer, who will both be trying so very hard here in this race to try and gain the place that they need. That 1 position could be massive here in this race, and it all has to stem from right here and right now. Hoyer at the moment trying to close down to Stumpf. Eriksson has eyes on Jason Muscat. Muscat has eyes on Pappy. Pappy eyes on Ottaviani, and Ottaviani eyes on D'Amelio as they go on through. 6th on backwards is almost its own separate race here to the top 5, with the gap now standing at 3 seconds still at the front, pretty much staying at a nice stable rate for Erhan. He only has to manage the race from here. His teammate knows that he's been beaten so far by qualifying, by pace. Erhan is one of the quickest drivers in the world for pure pace, and you will struggle to find someone over 1 lap, over a course of a handful of laps, who can go quicker than Erhan Yayovsky. That's why he is one of the best. That's why he was a finalist for World's Fastest Gamer presented by McLaren. That is why Erhan Yayovsky, time in, time out, again and again, does what he does best and leads races. So, gaps though, 5 seconds Dennis Jordan has now to Risto Capit, who has 5 seconds over Alex Siebel, who has 8/10 only over Petr Briliak in 5th. He'll be trying hard to try and claw that gap back down in. You've got drivers out like Diego Ramos, who's had an accident. He's missed his front wing, and I believe he has pretty much been caught in something else potentially there. As there would be Dean Vella, I believe that was, trying to find a way through. On the brakes, does Ramos go straight on? No. Oh, yes he does. Yes he does. He goes straight on. No way to look at that. No, don't look at that. Look at that. That's not what you like to see from a driver who feels they've lost absolutely everything just to ram it in the wall and say day done. That's not kosher. That's not good sim racing. Let's look at something more interesting than that at the moment, and that is the battle going on for 8th and 9th between Cosimo Papi and Jason Muscat at the moment. So what can these drivers do to change their fortunes around? Muscat has really struggled over the opening stint then, or the opening half of this race, I should say, to stay in tow of someone, to get a rhythm sorted, and finally has it. And now the battle on behind is here comes Mishi Hoyer on Mateusz Stumpf to try and get this move sorted, and Hoyer straight around the outside has absolutely no worries. That is a slipstream overtake, and the easiest one that he will find today as he gets himself now up into 11th position. Next up, Jesper Eriksson, who's chasing down Muscat, chasing down Papi, Ottaviani, Luca D'Amelio, all of those drivers within 10 seconds, within 7 seconds of each other at the moment out here on the road. So that's going to be a big battle, keep in mind, as this one goes forward. Cosimo Papi in 8th place, currently is the closest to being put under threat. I think's the right word to say that at this moment. Pappy, though, can see just a little bit of a wider line by Jason Muscat. Just catches a little bit of those anti-cuts on the outside, those rumble strips, which aren't really ideal to try and run the tyre over. They really do just jab into the tyre a little bit, wear it out a little bit more. On the brakes they go. Here's the Variante Alta, or what should be just called now here in terms of this circuit, the Variante at this point, seeing as there's no Bassa to go alongside the Alta. But ultimately, it's going to be some great battling going on track. But they are just pretty much sat in a holding pattern. Muscat, though, looking behind. There's Jesper Eriksson, all of a sudden, just waiting there in the TX3 car, trying to find a way through, trying to find a one more position, which would be very nice. And that's what you get told when you try and battle a driver on forward through the field, when you try and negotiate through the field, one at a time. Don't think about the big picture, think about the little one. On the brakes, one at a time, contact, tyre to wing, gets away with it there, and position made. So Muscat dives back to 10th place. Eriksson now is up into 9th, and there are 12 minutes remaining here in this race. So if there are time for positions, time is now. And Lana going around the outside of Birikov here for 13th place. Who's going to be the luckiest or the unluckiest here as they go into Villeneuve? Big fight from Birikov, but Paul August Lana has found himself the move and stays to 13th. At this moment in time, he's done well to hold that place for the moment, but it's still not over and done with for any position out on track. Any number of things can happen, and we saw it with Dorneden. One small mistake up in the air, race over. Currently, Dean Vella scores the final point at the moment, 1 minute 24 seconds off of the race lead. They're in 15th position right now out on track. So Yujovski 4.6 down the road from Risto Kapit. Dennis Jordan 9.9, say it's 10 seconds at this point off of the race lead, and Siebel just pulling away from Briliak. The gap now 2 seconds. Let's look at times. Briliak 36.6 last time by. Alex Siebel 35.8. The tyres are starting to hit that level where they are falling away. And that's going to be a little bit worrying for a couple of drivers right now. As look at Jesper Eriksson all of a sudden. He's on the back of Cosimo Papi. He's hoping he can get a move done. Hoyer's on the back of Jason Muscat here. More changes of positions could happen very, very soon. And Jesper Eriksson driving like a man possessed after his turn 2 spin at Tamburello on the opening lap of this event. All of a sudden could think, wow, 8th position, that wouldn't be too bad of a recovery, seeing as I was dead last for a fair bit. On the brakes, left-hander Toza, wide goes Pappy, knowing better than to fight with Jesper Eriksson, taking the wide line, letting him have it. Jason Muscat, though, different story entirely. There's Michi Hoyer, absolutely loves a battle down the inside at Piratella, has the move sorted again. Jason Muscat again with nothing to counteract Michi as he went on through. So now who's next up on the train? So Cosimo Papi will be looking behind in the Clash car. We'll see Michi Hoyer approaching, and then you'll see Jesper Eriksson try and do everything to get to the back of Alessandro Ottaviani here in the last 10 minutes of this one. So that's going to be key for the way that this race in the mid-pack is going to battle. But it has been an easy ride of things at the front. Capit knows that he's going to be 20 points back now in the championship compared to Erhan Yujovski, who will go back-to-back if things stay like this. And 20 points is a whole heap to try and close down, and will rely on mistakes from the teammate to try and get over the line fairly. So, not long left. All about one more position here and there. Jesper Eriksson absolutely flying at the moment. His last lap was a 36.5. Ottaviani's last lap a 36.8. 3:10. There's a mistake. There's a mistake. And that was a huge slide. There goes Pappy. There goes Hoyer. And Hoyer's going to try and get 2 in the space of a corner here. Trying to dive for the inside. Not close enough. A mistake from Eriksson. Pushing too hard through Tamburello, and that's cost him 2 places. Hoyer looks now down to the inside, side by side with Jesper Eriksson, who's trying to immediately counteract his mistake by going on the offensive. forcing Hoyer to take the wider line, the inside line now, up towards Piratella, and all of a sudden, Ericsson almost contact between them as they hit themselves on the brakes through the left, and Jesper Eriksson has to stay in line, has to wait behind, because Michi Hoyer's having none of it. He's in 9th place now for the time being. All of this happening over 40 seconds off of the race leader, who's running mid 134s out on track. That pack's running 136s. They're 2 seconds a lap slower at this moment in time. Those fighting for the top 10 compared to those fighting for the race lead. Briliak is starting to come back though at Alex Siebel, 35-2. Alex Siebel. Petr Briliak, 34-6. 0.6 of a second. The gap's down to 1.4, and Briliak feels like he's got a little extra mode that maybe he can go out there and have an attack with at this moment. Watch out for Michi on the back of Koshimo Papi. Papi goes incredibly defensive, but it will be around the outside that Michi's going to try and do this here. He's got superior overspeed as they hit the brakes, but look at Koshimo holding it nicely. Keeps them both at bay. Watch and learn as he tries to battle this one hard, tries to hold the place. Again, a lot of weaving going on. Muscat trying to get back involved in this battle as well. Koshimo is doing everything in his power to keep all of these drivers behind, and he's not finding it. Again to the outside. Tries Jesper Eriksson at Toza. Up and under maybe. Nope, not going to find it this time. So, still a 5-car train with Mateusz Stumpf at the back. The mid-pack has proved all of the battling right now. Siebel and Briliak down to 1.2 seconds at the moment, but look at Muscat all of a sudden down to Acque Minerale. Ericsson having to defend through that section, but then on the power, it's a case of 3 lots of Schrodinger's overtake, and then one driver trying to overtake, one driver trying to defend, bookending each one. Here's Mateusz Stumpf now. Which way do I go? He looks every which way here. Muscat drops 1, drops 2, deciding that was not the place I wanted to battle, and it's close on the exit, but Jason Muscat has to pull out of it. Mateusz Stumpf up to 11th, Ericsson keeps 10th. Hoyer now has a big fight going on in 9th, but Stumpf ultimately has a little bit of weaving going on, but now the gap, 1.2 seconds. Keep an eye on those 1.2 seconds. They could mean so much between now and the end. It's all about who can find the final few positions here in the final 6 minutes, the final 5th of this race. Erhan Yayovsky absolutely miles clear at this moment, but you still got Briliak 1.2 behind Alex Siebel, trying to pull himself into a gap. You've still got these battles going on between Papi and Hoyer, as Hoyer's going to try and go to the outside of Villeneuve to get this one done. He'll have the inside for the next section, trying to go up and under is Koshimo Papi, but Hoyer has made an absolutely brilliant move, defending having to be done in towards the next left, and look at that around the outside. Oh, what a move! What a move from Jesper Eriksson around the outside of Toza. He'd been teasing it time and time again, and Koshimo Papi was left napping. What a move! That came out of nowhere from Jesper Eriksson, and all of a sudden, he can now fight Michi Hoyer once again for 8th place out on track. Fantastic stuff between those drivers at the moment, as now they find themselves in the final 5 minutes of this race. Yayovsky 5.7 seconds down the road from Risto Capit, and here is Petr Briliak, and watch the gap. It's staying around 1.2, 1.3 seconds, and that's the hurt, the big hurt at the moment. Look at Mateusz Stumpf though, under pressure. Jason Muscat wants to finish, and he is looking close to trying to get this move. Not quite there, but look just in front of them. There is Jesper Eriksson trying to get aggressive quick. All the fighting they've done over the course of this race has distanced them 3 seconds behind Ottaviani, and a little bit more. Muscat again looking for the move on Mateusz Stumpf. Stumpf having to defend hard here, trying to hold back Jason Muscat. There's some Malta force behind it, but again lifting out, deciding, well, there's a lot better places to go out and overtake. Maybe not just yet, maybe a little bit later down the line. Gap between Siebel and Briliak almost under a second. There's a few thousandths, a bit of chump change that's saying it's not quite there at the moment, so they will have to sit in line. They will have to wait over the course of this one. Through the right, through the left. Petr Briliak for the time being doing a good job trying to close down that margin, but not close enough right now. Petr Briliak needs that 4th place to kickstart the championship. Siebel, after a retirement over at Silverstone, needs this to really start hitting that top 7 and hit the money pool margins and hit the next big pay gap. So it's all about who's fighting for what, who's got what at this moment. Hoyer's absolutely flying right now. Look at his times to Ottaviani, 36.5 last time by. Ottaviani, 37.7, 1.2 seconds a lap. Ottaviani could be caught here by the end of the race by Hoyer and Ericsson if they decide not to fight. And that's Hoyer running wide. That's Michi Hoyer running wide. Just about gathers it back up in the Burst Esports car, but the TX3 machine behind of Jesper Ericsson will want to get through. So very, very quickly and find an overtake. Cosimo Papi has got the gap over Mateusz Stumpf, over Jason Muscat. They won't change places in towards turn number 1. But look at Jesper Ericsson all of a sudden to the outside of Michi Hoyer, trying to get this one done. And has he got the inside for the next section? Oh, he's done it again around the outside. Lana comes in for the incident limit. But that is Jesper Ericsson. Wow, what a move, getting that one done. And he has been absolutely flying with not too long left to go. They're running out of time, though, to catch Ottaviani. Briliak still can't close the gap down to what he needs. And Cosimo Papi drops 2 places then down at Villeneuve chicane. So how did this happen for Cosimo Papi? Heading himself through the right, okay, out to Tamburello. But there was a good run from Mateusz Stumpf. I don't think he was close enough, but on the brakes, just running wide did Cosimo Papi, and that's what's costing him all the time, and that's why he's back down in 10th. Mateusz Stumpf back into the top 10. Muscat now in 11th place, but 2 laps remain for Erhan Yayovski, who leads by 6.3 over Risto Capit. You've got yourself so much going on here in the mid-pack. Ottaviani is pretty much hanging on to it at this moment. Yes, but Ericsson, 2 laps to close it all down. The gap was 1.7, and they I can't even maths anymore. This is so exciting here with Alessandro Ottaviani being reeled in for 7th place. Luca D'Amelio there in 6th, and at the moment, yes, but Ericsson on this recovery, there's been a human highlight reel as Mateusz Stumpf, penalty or fuel, more likely the latter, will come down in and have to make a stop again. That will promote the likes of Cosimo Papi up position as they go through. Hoyer comes back around the outside and gets it done on Ericsson. So now they're trading here, and this is interesting as they go on through. 1.5 seconds between D'Amelio and Ottaviani, and now 1.2 between Hoyer and Ottaviani himself. So Michi, with a great run around the outside, all of a sudden finds himself best placed to try and go out there, pick up the position that's needed. Up the hill once again, trying to find the move. Not quite in position at this moment in time. Timer, though, has expired, though, and it will be Erhan Yayovski who gets himself over the line and wins dominating style. Only 1 lap it seemed it was in the end. There's Risto Capit into 2nd. Dennis Jordan picks up a much-needed podium, but it's on for 7th place. Ottaviani now under pressure. Is there a look into the Variante Alta? There isn't here from Michi Hoyer, but he could dive for the inside at Ravazza if he's got the chance. They could be side by side over the line if they're not too careful. So, have you got the position covered? Ottaviani's hard to the right-hand side, to the left-hand side, defending it as much as he dares here at this stage. Look at Hoyer, looking every which way. He's not going to find it. Briliak there is 5th. There's Luca D'Amelio in front in 6th, but it's going to be about the run to the line here. Long run to the line, remember. Look at Hoyer. He's got it set up a dream. He moves to the outside trying to get this one done. Has he got himself enough of the nose as they go through? Ottaviani holds. Ottaviani holds by 0.04 of a second. Ottaviani holds. That was a great scrap to the end there as they fought through. Muscat gets a top 10, and Kirill Birakov finishes a lap down, the first of the lap down cars. Confirmation of result. Erhan Yayovski wins 30 minutes, 8 seconds. And in fact, Birakov is out of fuel on the last lap. Capit gets 2nd. Dennis Jordan gets 3rd with Alex Siebel 4th, and Petr Briliak for Williams in 5th. Luca D'Amelio gets 6th with Alessandro Ottaviani in 7th, followed by Michi Hoyer, Jesper Ericsson, and Jason Muscat rounding out the top 10. Cosimo Papi gets 11th place with Kirill Birakov out of fuel in 10th. And then 1 lap down, Dean Vella, Matej Stumpf, 2 laps, 1 lap down also Paul August Lana, 2 laps down Cacamagno, but the likes of Diego Ramos, Alexander Dornaden, Giacchino Viglione, Manuel Biancalillia, and the likes of Yuri Kasdorp as well, running into troubles in the opening lap of the race. So, an incredible race. Hanyayovsky very happy with the way that he's run. Has a nice drink as well to celebrate that one. He'll be happy and really, really cheerful after that big victory overall. And hopefully we should be able to grab a couple of drivers in for an interview. I believe that we'll be getting Yayovsky, Capit, and Jordan as well. And on cue, there is Risto Capit and there is Erhan Yayovsky. So Yayovsky then, we'll talk to you first. Erhan, qualifying was a very, very important thing to get. It's been something that you've just not been able to click together over the first couple rounds, but that was perfect from you. Perfect qualifying, perfect race, lights to flag. You couldn't have asked for a better, what we could say is a Friday night's drive.
Yeah, definitely. Got pretty lucky quality, I guess, getting a massive draft from Risto at the end. I was 2/10 down, but I gained massively from the draft and put it on pole. The race, it was pretty straightforward from the get-go. I was in the middle of the race. I got to drive cut tracks, so I was a bit more careful at the end. But overall, a pretty solid race by me.
A pretty solid race, knowing as well that your main rival, one of your main rivals, Jene Simončić, not here today. Did that make life a little easier, knowing that maybe you had a few challenges behind you and maybe a little bit further down in the points, that if it did come to it, you could maybe not fight as hard, know that you could play maybe the game towards the end of the day? Or were you really excited to see big battling in the early stages, to see your teammates suddenly rise up to second?
Yeah, definitely it made psychologically a lot easier to see Yardenat. I was pretty surprised that he didn't show up, but yeah, and Risto made a fantastic start at the beginning, jumping 3 guys. Yeah, it was pretty nice to see.
While you extend your lead in the championship now to 20 points, you look over to round 4. It's Zandvoort. It's probably the new Zandvoort as well, which would be really entertaining. A big banked final corner. So maybe a lot of overtaking opportunities you'd feel maybe at Zandvoort.
With this car, it's gonna be a really, really great track for passing, I think.
So a great track for passing, but before we let you go, a hand shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank?
Thanks to all the sponsors that support R8G esports.
And there is Hanyayovsky with the big win. Risto Capit came home with second position. Risto, let's talk about that start, because that was a glorious start from you.
Yeah, thank you. I basically did the same as I have every round. Maybe Dennis Jordan has to answer what they did wrong. Maybe since we had a lot of time under the red lights that they were afraid of overheating their engines. So maybe they started inventing something, but I just did my thing and yeah, had to do quick reactions to actually avoid the guys ahead because they were so slow off. So yeah, that was amazing. My qualifying went badly, but in only a few seconds, the race evening took a much nicer turn.
Well, you had a very, very good race. It was a quiet race, you could say, by your standards. Didn't really have really any battles in front, any battles behind. It was almost a case of hot lapping for 30 minutes. How difficult is it to keep the concentration up around Imola when you have to do 30 minutes of racing on your own effectively, especially knowing how very tight the cut tracks are around this circuit?
Definitely a challenge, but then again, we are at this point that we find it difficult to maybe practice and do race simulations, but when it's race session, then we usually do our best. So yeah, although I had like 5 seconds front and back, but I was still looking at the gap always. And in the first half of the race, I tried to pressurize Erhan a bit. As he said, he had some cut track penalties, I had none, so I tried to pressure him, but yeah, as usual, he had the edge over me, so he had things under control. But I was happy to also have things under control from the guys behind. So yeah, it was straightforward. It was a result of our hard work before the races, and it paid off, and we did nothing wrong.
First 1-2 on track for the team, something that would be very, very much needed. You take sole possession of second in the championship and now become very firmly the nearest rival to your teammates. Is this the sort of result that maybe Roman Grosjean would be incredibly happy with, getting a team with some incredibly world-class drivers and then putting together a result like this on the team on one of the first outings for the team?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good point. That despite we are at the top of the leading standings, that we didn't do a 1-2 yet. Yeah, even if Simoncic wasn't here, then the level of the field is still very, very high. So it's a completely relevant series, and of course we are as proud of this as anything. So yeah, it's a great thing to have, and we will keep on pushing to make these results for sure.
Shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you, Risto, for a second place finish?
As usual, thanks to Roman Grosjean to set up this team and give us this nice environment where we can be at our maximum performance.
Risto Capit there getting second position. Dennis Jordan gets his first podium of the season. He finishes up in third. Dennis, let's talk about the formation lap, because not enough has been said about that. An incredibly slow pace lap there. Very tough to get the heat into the tyres. Was that maybe a factor in terms of the start, along with the long gridding lights procedure?
I'm not sure. I think the start was just my fault. The formation lap is just so slow because we are all trying to save fuel as much as possible because we are quite tight. I don't think it affects tires really. I mean, you're kind of arrived with cold brakes on turn 1 then, but start was just my fault.
Well, it was going to be a tough race, of course, especially with the pace that the R8G drivers had over the course of this one, but it was more a case of just managing your own gaps, managing your own race. You, of course, have been very close to a podium over at the first race in Adria, but that ever so slightly fell away, so it's your first podium in terms of on-track racing, so you've got to feel pretty happy about that, seeing as now you gain a lot of points, a lot of positions on some of your rivals that you were fighting against in the championship, the likes of Simoncic, who wasn't there, and Petr Briliak, who finishes 5th.
Yeah, sure, obviously was helped a lot by Janne not being there tonight, unfortunately. I think he had a couple of other commitments, which, yeah, is a shame for him, but I'm sure he's gonna bounce back. I will try my best to stay in front. I'm not sure if I'm even in front, but it's gonna be tough. Let's see.
Well, a tough battle it is going to be. Of course, your teammate Alex Siebel had a great race as well. So Evolution looking towards, say, Zandvoort in a week's time. The first half of the season has been very, very consistent. What do you think Evolution needs to do to find that extra tenth or so, it seems, that's going to unlock maybe getting the race back to the R8G drivers?
Well, as simple as it sounds, just drive faster, you know. There's nothing that goes around that. Need to have a look and invest a little bit more time, as Risto said already. You know, it's for us all quite tough at the moment with so many things going on, but you can be sure that next week we're gonna show up well prepared and gonna give our best.
If in doubt, flat out. Before we let you go, Dennis, shout out sponsors. Who do you like to thank?
Well, you guys. I mean, you for doing the stream, all the guys behind VPR, and also Fiverr for doing the series. Always fun to come here every Friday.
Dennis Jordan then coming home with a third place finish. And that brings an end to proceedings here on World Pro Racing's coverage of your Griiip G1 Virtual Series 2020, presented by Fiverr. Hashtag making it work. Some wonderful work has been done as well. Also supported by GT Omega Racing and Thrustmaster as well, the mod created by ASR Formula. If you've been watching on YouTube, Facebook Live or Twitch, make sure you like, share and subscribe to World Pro Racing right now. Some more incredible action, as well as those who have been watching on the ESR 24/7 Esports Network and ESPN as well. We have absolutely loved you being along for the ride and along for the coverage. From the stewards who have done a fantastic job, the chief director Adrian Fagayo and the chief steward George Muscat, from the cameras which have been brilliantly piloted once again by Justin Mifsud and myself, Jake Sperry. Erhan Yayovsky goes back to back. He's picked up exactly what he wants, a big championship points haul, a good lead now, a sizable lead, but with all leads, and it goes the same for Philip Kraus in the AM category as well, all leads now head to Zandvoort, a track which may be a little bit different, hasn't maybe been run as much, maybe is going to be a little bit of a shake, a little bit of a mix to see who's got themselves up at the top. The only way you can find out whether the form book stays the same or it changes once again is if you stay with World Pro Racing, because we will see you very soon. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Want to quit your day job? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
This is bad. Wait, let's just do it ourselves.
It is not fear that grips him, only restlessness, a heightened sense of things. The smell of engine and sweat, the engine rattling his blood, the crowd roaring, the race is about to start. He breathes deeply to focus. In this league, he finally found what he was looking for. A true passion.
Massimo Paganini e per anni ho cercato una macchina che mi desse gioia, adrenalina nella guida e finalmente l'ho trovata nella G1 Series. Se anche tu vuoi provare una macchina che ti dia gioia e adrenalina, G1 Series 2020.
So, you think you got what it takes to race in the G1 Series? Can you keep your concentration? Even in the most stressed situations, can you keep pushing even when things go wrong? Can you master different environments? Can you adapt immediately to different conditions? Can you keep learning? Learning from your opponents, learning from your mistakes, learning from everyone, anytime, anywhere, until you reach your goal and become the best you can. Think you got what it takes to race in the 2020 G1 Series? Then fill in the form now.
Want real followers? Become a pro streamer. Want to become a pro streamer? Get your panels, overlays, banners, emotes, and more at the Fiverr Twitch store.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.